Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. How y'all doing? I'm telling you right now, I'm freezing my ass off. Right now, it is minus 32 degrees Celsius, which is equal to minus 25 Fahrenheit outside SOR studio, and that is about 8 degrees warmer than it was about 12 hours ago. Yeah, it's cold, real cold, but we're getting into it tonight, kicking off the final week before Christmas. Christopher Sharp is going to be here momentarily. He is just battling with his son right now, who woke up early because Chris is in the UK, and it's like 5 in the morning there. So he's just trying to put his son back to bed. We're going to try and get some UFO talk in with him tonight. Dirty Filth is here with the cartoons as well. But first, let us say hello to all of you. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. Michael Morris taking home the silver. Jay Zen with a bronze medal. Logan L., Roy Boy, how you doing? Penny Van, nice to have you here. And Les Paul Holland, good morning or good afternoon to you in Australia. Rui from Portugal, good morning to you. Kevin, Brown Dwarf, Monica, nice to have you all here. Brad Ford is here. Brad Ford will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. And B, nice to have you back. Susie B., Tracy Scott, good morning to you. Crystal J and D. Cohen, how you doing? Jenny, nice to have you here. Scowling Greg O'Brien, good to see you, my friend. Scowling Greg will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Paramarv, good to have you here. Anonymous Rex, our Timbit, how you doing, buddy? All right, let's see. I didn't get a chance to go to the mailbox today, Tim. I didn't get a chance. Shiro, how you doing? Nice to see you. Third Rock, always a pleasure. As we continue on with our roll call here. And who else do we have? My man, Leroy Washington, otherwise known as Super Quest around here. Hadley, how you doing, man? Roy just booked his holidays for the Las Vegas trip. So we officially have our official bodyguard going to Vegas for our fan weekend. Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. Not to be misconstrued with Alien Carl. Never want that. No, we never want that. Let's continue on with roll call here tonight. And where else do we go here? Lurker, welcome to SOR chat. Hi, Donna Spencer. Nice to see you. And where are we here? Worsley, Zach Martin. Nice to have you both here. Hi, Pixie Lara and Lisa C. And Von Patrick, Millennium, couple of good Canadian kids right there. Pink Volo and Ozzy Sue, nice to see you all. And let's see, Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means it's officially time to start this show. We're going to start up the Spreaker chat right there. That way you'll see just right about here, you're going to see any second, Bill WD-40 is going to jump on in there. He's going to lube us up for tonight. All right, let's continue on. Jessica, Alien Critter, nice to see you. Dirty Filth at Paradox Fossils. Timmy, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on a nightly basis. So thank you, Tim, for your love and support of the show. Let's continue on here. Penman, Ozzy Ange, nice to see you. And Bad Cop No Donut, good to have you here. And Lily Pond, Larry Fisher, welcome to SOR Chat from Texas. And where else are we here? Let's see here. Hi, Nikki in Seattle. The lovely Kira, thank you for coming on in. Lurks a lot. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. And who else we got? Rain, nice to see you again. Mark Ellens, Silent Listen, good to have you all here. And let's see, where are we here? Are we caught up? Almost. There is Space Exposure. And you know what? I think we're almost done here. Deb from SAC, nice to see you. Thank you for the super chat. It is a great time right now. So we kick off our final week before Christmas. Do me a favor, everyone. Get your horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old baby the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show tonight. We're talking UFOs of 2022 from Liberation Times. Journalist Christopher Sharp is going to be with us here momentarily. And then in hour number 3, we will get to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller will take us on another spooky journey. Then our resident Timbit, little Timmy Senor, will have the UFO report. I tell you, this guy is turned into one of the top journalists when it comes to formulating stories, getting breaking news when it comes to UFOs. 2022 has really been the year for Christopher Sharp and Liberation Times for all the hard work he has done in bringing high quality understanding and proper journalism to UFOs. Yeah, he's been there, done it all. He's waking up early almost every morning because his news is in the United States. He's hours away in the United Kingdom. And this is a guy who works his tail off trying to bring the right information to the public. And we're glad to have him on tonight because we want to give a year in review. And once again, his website, liberationtimes.com. Christopher Sharp, it's a pleasure to have you here. And we're going to forewarn our audience here a little bit that your wife is actually working an overnight shift tonight and your little guy has woken up. So if we all of a sudden have a little bit of childish disturbance to say, that is quite okay. I think all of us fathers here will totally get it and understand, my man. But we're just glad to have you back on the show. Thank you for waking up early with us.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be on with you again, Dave. It's a fitting way to finish off the year. So, no, the pleasure is all mine, my friend.
You know what? I don't know how you did it this year, but you have seriously taken UFO reporting to a new level this year. You have broken many stories. You have become a major player in the journalism world when it comes to UFOs and trying to get the right information out there. I think, Chris, and it's going to sound like I'm buttering you up here, but I don't mean it that way. I'm saying this journalist to journalist here. I think there are very few journalists out there who are covering this story properly. And I believe that you were one of them. I would put Ross Coulthart in that angle, Brian Bender, D. Dean Johnson, as well as in Tyler Rugaway, another one. in there in those categories. And, we can't forget, Tim McMillan. But it's just very, very impressive to watch you guys, all of you, but because you're here tonight, we'll focus on you in really getting those stories out. This is a field, and I've been in it 8 years now, that has really seen a lack of proper journalism. We have seen a number of people who have self-titled themselves as journalists trying to give their opinion. But I mean, trying to dig for stories, it's hard work, Chris.
Yeah, it's very, very hard work. I could have never imagined this time last year that I would have been invited by Susan Goff to a Pentagon roundtable, which I attended on Friday. So I was there in the capacity of Liberation Times, and Liberation Times was there with New York Times, NBC, ABC, just all the big news organizations out there. We were representing, and hopefully we did a lot of people proud by the questions that we asked.
Well, let's get into this, because for many of us, that will be breaking news that you were in Washington, D.C., invited by the Pentagon. How did that happen?
So it was actually via Zoom call, although a lot of the other journalists were live there in the Pentagon briefing room. And I just received an invite from Sue Goff to attend that morning, I guess, for me. And it came as a bit of a shock and surprise. But yeah, it's I guess that I've just cultivated a very good relationship with Sue in terms of a professional relationship, although I like to think of myself as a pain in her ass as well. If I do not get the information that I want, I will launch a formal complaint with the Pentagon's press office. So I'm sure that causes a few headaches, but it gets the job done. And hopefully she respects me for doing that. And like I said, I think we have a good professional relationship. And yeah, so I ended up reporting from there on Friday.
2022 has been probably the most up and down year for this subject in the last 5 years. We've seen a lot of disdain. We've seen a lot of anger. We've seen Lou Elizondo want to kill ufology as we know it. We've seen people out people regarding their positions. We've seen a lot of UFO Twitter backlash. It really has been its own reality TV show this year. How have you been able to kind of stay in the background and just let things happen and formulate high quality stories of interest?
Yeah, it's kind of trying to separate the drama from the news and the information that matters, and trying to push the ball forward even in an atmosphere where everyone's throwing stones at each other. And it happens to me. I get horrible emails about my family and things like that, and it's really difficult. I get a lot of abuse, and but I keep on going despite the wind and the rain. I keep on marching forward, and I try my best to get the information out in the best way possible. And it's up to me to make those judgment calls on sources and what kind of news I'm reporting. But I try to approach it very level-headedly, and I try not to assert my opinion in there too much. But at the end of the day, I'm approaching this story as a scandal. I'm approaching the story as a scandal. And if there's a scandal happening, you usually approach the whistleblowers. Those are the people that you talk to. I'm not going to be a defense journalist who speaks to the sources that always feed me, that I rely on to report my other stories, because I feel in the case of, let's say, the New York Times, let's talk about him, Julian Barnes. I feel that he's reporting the Watergate story, and he's going to Nixon and his advisors and his team and saying, look, has Nixon done anything wrong? No, nothing's going on here. There's no story here. And basically he's taking that to town and reporting that to his audience. And New York Times has a very, very influential role. And let's just say this, that Liberation Times, we do not have a reputation, nowhere near the reputation of New York Times, okay? But I still feel a responsibility to my readers from time to time to actually provide balance in my stories by allowing the Pentagon to respond, which is why I've cultivated that relationship with Susan Goff, especially if I'm using anonymous sources, which you have to do sometimes when reporting this story. So I find it very difficult to believe that firstly, the New York Times is using anonymous sources, which it's not supposed to, but I can understand because it's reporting on this story. But if you are reporting a story like this, especially to millions of people, then you owe it to your audience to also report the other side, talk to Lou Elizondo, talk to Christopher Mellon, talk to those on the inside that my journalist colleague Josh Boswell spoke to when he reported the story following Barnes' story, where he actually confirmed with an ODNI source that Reaper Jones in the Middle East had actually caught orbs flying around. That's a pretty big deal. Yeah, so I feel that we need proper journalism looking at this, and I'm not going to lie and say that I'm a journalist who's going to try to debunk it, or I'm just going to play it by the middle, because I do very much see this as a scandal.
Okay, so the idea that you were looking at this from a scandal in what way? From ripping off the world community, from not being upfront, from withholding information? What kind of scandal are we talking about here, Chris?
A scandal whereby information regarding the reality of the situation has been hidden from the public for decades. Since probably the 1930s, the way that I see this is that it started back in Miscellaneous Italy back in the 1930s, and they didn't know what they were dealing with, and they tried to hide the information. Well, they successfully hid the information. So I see it from happening from then. And then you had the Trinity incident, which is why I think that the legislation points towards the year 1945 now, because of the alleged crash at the Trinity test site. And I feel that there have been legacy programs that have dated back to perhaps the 1940s, 1950s, that have been hidden from not just the American people, but from Congress. Or let's say that Congress and the president were informed to a certain extent back in the 1950s and 60s, maybe even the 70s, but now Congress has no idea. And that's what they're trying to get to the bottom of now in terms of the new legislation. If there's any special access program, say, that has not been communicated clearly to the relevant congressional members, because no matter how secretive SAPs are, they still have to report back to the relevant congressional members, which is a gang of 8. So if that has been hidden and not communicated properly, they want to know that. And I feel like we're heading towards a moment which is reminiscent of the Church Committee, which actually led to the formation of the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is now looking into this very, very seriously. And I also believe that whistleblowers have already come out.
I don't think it's a matter of disclosure, Christopher, that we need to be talking about right now, because I don't believe disclosure is on par with what we agree disclosure is. I think we are in a confirmation movement. I think, and I've said this to my listeners over the years, I think there is a UFO Pandora's box sitting somewhere deep within the Pentagon that has all of these little secrets on whether or not they're fact or fiction, whether it's Bob Lazar, whether it's Eisenhower meeting with aliens, or anything in between. And I think there is a lot of secrets the U.S. government, and especially the military, have to not come out with a proper disclosure movement, but rather a confirmation. Why do you think we're still having this giant debate? Because we already know, Chris, that when it comes into the idea of any sort of new congressional talks, everything's going to be behind closed doors. They're not going to give us the juice.
That's correct. It's not necessarily true that they will give us the juice. So I think in terms of, if you're an advocate for this issue, 2023 may be the year whereby you actually put pressure on Congress to actually come clean, saying, look, we know you've been briefed by whistleblowers. We know that you've have found out very interesting information, we urge you to act in transparency, which you have been promising for the last 2 years since you started taking this topic seriously. Now come out with the goods, come out to the public and actually reveal what you can without harming national security. And I feel that may be something that may need to occur. I did hear from sources back in November that it was very, very certain that we would have public hearings following the signing of the National Defense Authorization Act from Biden. Those sources are no longer as confident, and they're basically just saying, look, it's up to Congress to make the decision. I feel that Congress does need to act on this. I do realize that currently it's a very sensitive situation. I know for a fact they're taking it very, very seriously behind the scenes, even if they're not talking publicly, because we're talking about some very, very delicate things occurring behind the scenes. But I feel that it can't just be Burgett talking at the moment. Other members of Congress need to start talking publicly, and I feel that we do need hearings. I feel that, even if it's just the people involved with the Nimitz incident back in 2004 and the likes of Ryan Graves just coming out, just confirming that we're not dealing with Chinese drones in terms of this. We are dealing with something truly extraordinary. And maybe also bring Mellon and Lou there as well, people who've already come public, because these are household names for us because we're involved with the community, but the wider public probably has no idea. So I feel that, if Congress is going to take this seriously, yeah, I know a lot of important things are happening behind the scenes right now, but I feel that there needs to be more of a public face to this, and also doing so will also get rid of this stigma, which is still very, very prevalent, as we've seen from the likes of Julian Barnes in the New York Times, who ask obnoxious questions and talk about space aliens. I don't think it's very funny at all when these things are being encountered on a daily basis by, brave servicemen, not only in Canada and the United States, but in my country as well, and have no idea what they are. And I feel that we're owed it.
I think it goes beyond that, though. I think a lot of the public is, never mind the fact that they may not have interest in this because it's sci-fi, it's X-Files or whatever. But I think for a lot of the public, especially the UFO public, which is growing exponentially each and every day, I think they're fed up, because it seems like now, Chris, if you're an experiencer or I'm an experiencer or anybody listening, our opinions mean nothing. The only opinions we're allowed to give now are commercial airline pilots and military pilots and eyewitnesses who are, trying to explain what they have, but can't because of NDAs. Then there's going to be this BS whistleblower thing that isn't going to go anywhere because the military has already privately given their threats on what they think about this. We just saw about a month ago a U.S. Air Force pilot try to use the protocol and he got reprimanded. I mean, we're not going anywhere with this. And I hate to sound pessimistic to my audience regarding this, but until everybody's willing to expand the full spectrum beyond the military, I think we're going to keep getting what we expect, which is very little.
Yeah, which is why I praise what you're doing in Canada. I praised both you and Daniel Otis and others who've done extremely good work. And you've approached this in a different way in terms of getting information out from, let's say, what the US is doing, so that information can be more forthcoming to the public. And I really praise that, and I think you're going about it the right way. I feel the only way that we can kind of get real confirmation of this is actually to show the public that, look, we do have reverse engineering and retrieval programs, and this has been confirmed, definitely. So then it's not just subjective experiences from eyewitnesses, which I do, by the way, believe, because my brother and other members of my family are having these experiences as well. But I feel that the wider public, to stop the likes of Mick West, people like that from kind of scoffing, you need to kind of shut them up by producing the goods. If they do have a crashed alien vehicle, let's see it. Let's see as much as possible without harming security, because it could be a grave repercussion in terms of doing so.
See, we got 4 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. From the Liberation Times, Christopher Sharp, journalist extraordinaire, is here tonight. See, Chris, this is why I need somebody like you to take on the UFO Pandora's box, hidden 58 stories below the Pentagon, make it look good, because I do believe exactly what you said. What's the harm in showing us that crash retrieval? What's the harm in showing this to anybody? And we have just a handful of people making decisions for 7.75 billion. This isn't a topic where you can go protest on the street and say, hey, we're not going to have nuclear weapons in our territory anymore, much like Canada did in the 1980s, and there's a ban on nuclear weapons in Canada ever since then. It's not going to be like that. This is a subject where, next to Jesus Christ himself coming down from the heavens, it's the second biggest story in humankind's history. So that's why I'm very upfront about this. There's got to be a UFO Pandora's box somewhere, because if there isn't, why the secrecy? Why keep things as quiet as they are? It's not about Russia and China, my man.
Yeah, I feel that they've dug themselves in a hole so far now that they realise this stuff is illegal and they can get in a lot of trouble. And I think that to a certain extent they may be looking for a way out. I feel that. Apologies for the noise in the background.
Oh, that's a good drum set. Is he trying out for Oasis's return or what?
I think so. Yeah. What song are you drumming to, Lincoln? No. Okay. But yeah, no. Those are my thoughts. I think to a certain extent, those people involved may be looking for a way out, and I think that it only works to a certain extent as well, because I think a lot of the best engineering and scientific talent may be going elsewhere now, and not to these defense contractors that may have the technology. So I think to a certain extent, it may be a good thing for them to actually confirm that they do have something really extraordinary, because to a certain extent as well, and from my understanding, they're having a lot of trouble actually working this technology out.
No, absolutely. With about 90 seconds to go here, we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, Chris. And, one of the things I want to get into with you tonight is the whole threat narrative. We have seen a lot with the threat narrative this year. And now, all of a sudden, we've gone full circle. We are back to Chinese drones. Before we get to the threat narrative, we got about 1 minute to go. Just your thoughts in general, Chris, regarding us getting back to Chinese drones, and that is what we are dealing with. We got about 50 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, UAP is something that you can't identify. Congress isn't interested in Chinese drones. If they've been confirmed as Chinese drones, then it's not Arrow's problem anymore. They need to actually forward it to the relevant office. Congress is interested in the extraordinary technology being demonstrated, which to a certain extent, so I can use that word, but to a certain extent, Kirkpatrick confirmed to me on Friday. That is what Congress is interested in. They're not interested in Chinese drones, okay? And the other thing I feel is that they're using Chinese drones as an out, and I feel to a certain extent that also that they're using the 2019 July incident as well with the naval fleet in the Pacific. They're using the unmanned aerial systems excuse, and they're trying to hint that it's Chinese drones. However, they're not confirming the origin and operation.
Chris, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are running up against a break here. Christopher Sharp from the Liberation Times. We're going to get into the UFO threat. Is there really one, or is this all about money and a smoke show? We'll be back right after this on Spaced Out Radio. Good start, my man. Good start. Don't worry about the little guy. He's doing great. He's doing great.
Providing some good background music, aren't you, Lincoln? Huh?
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
He's playing Jingle Bells.
Is that a real tree behind you, or is
It's
it
a
a
real
fake one?
tree, yeah. It was a real tree. I'm really puny. I have no muscles, and I was the one who had to carry it from the church where we picked it up from, and I was struggling. I was sweating, and oh my god. Yeah. The wife did a good job decorating it.
It's a beautiful tree.
Oh, thank you. Lincoln, do you want to watch the iPad?
Yes.
I'll get the iPad for him, and that should keep
No
him
worries. No worries, my man. No worries. It's great. He's being very entertaining. What a cutie. Hey, this is the beauty of live radio is sometimes really cool things happen. A little Lincoln there hopping in on Dad's interview. It's like 5:30 in the morning there. And Lincoln just woke up in the middle of the night and he was just wide awake. And Chris is like, oh my God, Dave, my son's awake. I'm like, oh, that's all right. That's all right. You know, that's the point of being a parent, man. You know, sometimes we have to do two things at once, right? So it's all cool. It's all cool. And this is why it's good to take breaks. Amber Dawn Glover, welcome to SOR Chat. Hi, Part 2. How are you? Oh, hey, Clam. Nice to see you. And polar eclipse. You sicko. You are a sicko. You make me laugh. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? The aliens. The aliens are here.
I don't think he wants to be on his own in the other room, do you?
Oh, that's all right.
That's okay. You can be with me. You can be with me. It's okay. It's okay. He's not at school at the moment. He's on holiday, so he's all right, aren't you?
That's perfectly fine by me.
Do you want to watch the iPad in here? Yeah, bring it in here then. Yeah, it's okay.
How old is he now?
He's 5 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's getting big.
Yeah,
Getting big.
he is. He is. He's extremely intelligent, and but he just gets very, very emotional sometimes, and he loves his mummy and daddy. And
oh yeah. Hey, do you talk UFOs to him? Does he understand?
Yeah, he understands to some extent. Yeah, he does. And I mean, he made his TV, I guess, podcast debut on Lou Jimenez's The Big Phone Home when he interrupted me, and I had to keep him quiet by giving him an ice lolly.
Oh yeah, no, that works, man. That works. He's gonna work. He's gonna work right beside you. That's awesome. That is. I was doing an interview earlier today. My buddy Bruce was hosting a radio show out of Vancouver today. And, you know, I get home from work, I eat dinner. My son barely says 2 words to me. And then all of a sudden I go into the interview. I go close the door in my bedroom. And my son like walks in like 4 times. It was a 9-minute hit. And my son walked in 4 times. And I'm like, dude, like, what are you doing? Right? But Dad, I just wanted to pass you a note.
Oh no! I mean, family always comes first for me. You know.
Oh yeah.
And, right, do you want to watch it on the couch? So it's not too loud. Thank you, Michael. Okay, cool. Yeah. It always comes first for me, and I'm quite blessed that I get to work from home as well, so I get to spend time with him. So yeah. It really means a lot, especially the wife being a nurse. You know, it's very difficult to.
Oh, dude. My son is 9, and I'll get off the air. By the time I calm down, it'll be 1 a.m. I'll be up at 7, so I could have breakfast with him, and you know, I help get him ready for school, and I walk him to the bus stop in the morning for school, and wave at him every morning, and I remind him to have the best day ever. So it's those little moments, man, little moments. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, what's it like at the moment going to school with minus 37 conditions?
The buses didn't run today, put it that way. Hold on one second here. Thank you to Deb and Tim for kicking off this week's Super Chats. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Here comes the second half hour, everyone. Stay tuned. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in around the world. Reminder to you that all of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, from the Liberation Times, we have journalist Christopher Sharp joining us. And in this half hour, Chris has been one of the top premier journalists and reporters on the UFO story through 2022. And in this half hour, we are going to get into the threat narrative. You know, Christopher, and welcome back, by the way. And by the way, for our radio listeners who cannot see the background that we have on YouTube, I highly suggest you check it on out, because through my entire intro back into Chris, his son was running around playing with a balloon, knocking it in the air. Chris, awesome stuff here, man.
Thanks, brother. Thanks. He's rather enjoying it, I feel.
Perfect. That's quite okay. Let's get into the threat narrative, because we continue to hear this alleged threat narrative coming out of the United States. They're in our airspace. The Chinese drones are back. I have bad body odor because I can't figure out if these are drones or UFOs or UAPs or some other sort of derivative of unidentified flying object. I mean, the storyline of threat narrative really is getting old. But we do know that it all comes down to budget as well, Chris. I mean, what's your thinking on it?
Sure. Firstly, can you hear me okay? I know that there might be some noise in the background.
No, we're perfect, my man.
Sure. Thank you very much. I mean, in terms of threat narrative, it has moved the ball forward to a certain degree to get Congress to take this seriously, which is fantastic. But in terms of UAP, there may be multiple origins. If it is non-human intelligence we're talking about, some may be threatening. I mean, I think even Stephen Greer stated that the interdimensionals, they're a bit of a problem or something like that, you know. So to a certain extent, even Greer kind of admits it. And I can only go by information presented to me in terms of that. And let's say you may have situations right now over conflict zones, for instance. The Senate Intelligence Committee, in its explanatory report, stated that there's been an exponential increase in reports. So let's say that these things are benign and they're not a direct threat. If there had been an exponential increase of reports into UAP, and let's say they're operating over military war zones and they're being picked up on the radar, if there's so many of them, how can you keep track of them? If there's so many of them, and then if you've got so many of them, then how can you distinguish between them and potential adversarial threats? So it may be something like that in terms of why this needs to be dealt with from a practical perspective in terms of the defense realm. But I mean, this doesn't, like you were saying, just rest with the military. Yesterday, we got a new story out in the Daily Mail with Ben Hansen of some reports over Wisconsin. A lot of people are trying to find an explanation for it. I mean, the investigation continues. But I mean, civilians are seeing weird things as well. And I reported on airline pilots as well that have seen things. And there's some videos circulating on TikTok from airline pilots saying that there's been an increase of these things being seen by aircraft in the last year. So yeah, I can see why. So I don't know. I think the Chinese drone excuse needs to fade away pretty soon, because we are dealing with stuff that cannot be explained. And like I was saying before the break as well, if you are going to try to assert these are Chinese drones but want to do it indirectly, which they're trying to basically do with the July 2019 events, then confirm where they came from, confirm the origin, confirm the controllers. I know for a fact these things didn't come from the Bass Strait, the Hong Kong registered cargo carrier that was searched by the FBI and the Coast Guard. So it didn't come from there. And sailors were watching that ship for the whole time, and no one ever saw a drone come from there. That's what the sources are telling me in terms of that. So if they are unmanned aerial systems, how did the Pentagon come to that conclusion? Why are they not giving me answers in terms of where they came from? And the same with the East Coast instance as well. You know, I've talked to Ryan Graves quite a lot of times this year, and these things keep on occurring. You would have thought by now, the satellite technology and the sensors that they have, they would be able to find an origin from where these things came from. Are they being launched from a boat or a submarine? Where? Because they seem to be there all the time on the East Coast. After all these years, surely if they were Chinese, they would have got a stern warning at one of their embassies and warned not to conduct these activities off the East Coast. But that doesn't seem to have happened, because these things are still there and they can't be explained, because we're talking about really weird things being seen. So, I mean, if you're going to approach this from the perspective that they're Chinese drones, let's play along with it. Let's play devil's advocate and let's ask the difficult questions which they can't answer for a fact. And I know, because I've asked those questions.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's why they continue to try and bring this to the mainstream media, because let's face it, you're half mainstream, you're half alternative like I am, okay? And yet they don't want our questions. They want to dodge our questions because they know the mainstreamers have zero interest in covering this story, and they can pass whatever they want onto them and they're going to buy it. Much like they are in, the preliminary discussions that they haven't seen a UFO yet. There is no confirmed of anything aliens or anything like that. But this is where we're going, and this is how they deflect. And unfortunately for you and for me, we don't have that major platform to kind of say, look, let's stop with the BS. Let's get to the facts. Let's get some hard questions answered. And tell me why this is a threat.
Exactly. And this is exactly why I asked those questions on Friday. It seemed that the Pentagon was trying to go down this narrative that we've not seen these space aliens, as Julian Barnes would characterize it in his obnoxious questioning. And the tone was very obnoxious, believe me, which seemed very, very bad, especially, as Moultrie and Kirkpatrick were introducing this topic and saying that they're trying to erase the stigma surrounding this. So to actually, scoff and say, are we dealing with space aliens, seemed counterintuitive towards what the Pentagon is trying to achieve. And I know for a fact, by the way, that he also did pee off people from the other side, because it's been made very, very clear, let's say, to Barnes, that we're not just dealing with Chinese drones, that there's various explanations, possible explanations for UAP, and that it's not UAP drones. And I know for a fact that some of his sources may have been getting across that message, and he's basically ignored it, and he's honed in on the Chinese drone stuff. So that's something that I really wanted to get across. And in terms of the questioning, they were focusing on the numbers. So several hundred was the word used by Kirkpatrick. And yeah, I guess they were trying to downplay it as much as possible, which is why I asked if there were any unresolved cases that they've had from the space domain. And straight away, Moultrie tried to shut that down. That was what seemed to happen on Friday quite often, that Moultrie would try to be the one enforcing the line and trying to shut things down whenever he thought the conversation was going too far into the weird, let's say. When I asked also if we were dealing with technology that they're unable to explain, Kirkpatrick started saying about like unusual flight characteristics and stuff like that. And that was really interesting. But once he started going down that path, Moultrie butted in straight away to try to downplay it. So I thought that was quite interesting. It seems that they do want to downplay this as much as possible. But I mean, we know that we know that they're doing this. We know that they're
Big
doing
hug. Big hug. That was awesome.
But one question
well,
I was keen to ask, though, one question I was keen to ask, and something that really baffled me as well. So, from my understanding, so sources are telling me currently that Kirkpatrick is no longer within the office of the Undersecretary of Defence for Intelligence and Security, which Moultrie leads. So, if that is true, then why was Moultrie there on Friday? And if you read the National Defence Authorization Act, it's made clear that in terms of intelligence and operational matters, Kirkpatrick has to report to Kathleen Hicks and someone from, sorry, I forget the name now, but someone from the ODNI. So he now reports to the Secretary of Defence's office, basically, and ODNI, not the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security. He only does so for administrative reasons, but mostly now this has nothing to do with OUSDNI to a certain extent now, which I find really interesting. So why was Moultrie still there? And these are questions I'm keen to get answered.
Well, there's a number of answers that are very keen to get, but I think what's recently thrown a wrench in a lot of things for people in the UFO field is the Canadian government coming out and basically saying that, Chris, we're not seeing a threat. The Department of National Defense in Canada has refuted that there is a threat in Canadian airspace regarding UFOs. And I think this totally counteracts everything we've been learning out of the United States. And I think in the big scheme of things, it's kind of pushed Canada up the ladder quite a bit regarding UFOs and potential disclosure, considering the Canadian government seems to want to take more of a scientific approach with everything.
So let me ask you, on that basis that it's not a threat, do you think that we're going to see an opening up of the files in terms of some of your biggest cases, like Shag Harbour, for instance? So if we're not dealing with a threat, then
I think they're working on it.
Yeah, then surely we should open up the files in terms of that. And was there some American involvement as well in terms of the Shag Harbour incident?
Yes, there was. They were watching it from the American side of the harbor. They couldn't cross into the Canadian side for obvious reasons, because that's a Canadian effort there. But, due to NORAD and everything, there was help. They were communicating with their notes and what everybody had seen and heard, right? But the big story about Shag Harbour that we all want to know is there is rumor that there were two Canadian naval divers that dove down into the harbor to see what was actually down there. And the alleged story is these two Navy divers actually saw not one, but two ships down there. You had the one that crashed, a second one that came in to kind of underwater to kind of help. And the rumor is that they actually saw some sort of extraterrestrial beings working on the craft to repair it. And then when they went back down the following day, the ships were gone and vanished.
Wow. So, I mean, if we can get some kind of official confirmation from the Canadian government that, look, this really happened. We've got the files, we've got the records stating this is a fact in terms of witness testimony. Our sensors did definitely detect something. We've also got images as well. Surely they would have taken images. So if we can get confirmation on that, that'd be absolutely extraordinary. And perhaps let's say that they're looking for information from the US side and they're not getting any cooperation. Then maybe the Canadian government should say, look, we're asking for further information in terms of this. But the US government is not being forthcoming. That'd be really, really, that really put their feet under fire if they did that. That'd be fantastic.
Well, I think there's more to come. It all depends what happens in Canada, if there's going to be, because we are a minority government right now, what's going to happen in the next few months. If the rumors are true and there is a snap spring election, then that will potentially bring UFOs to the table. And I know that I'm going to be pushing for that. I know Daniel Otis is going to be pushing for that. And many others, such as yourself, need to push for that as well, just to make it happen. It's not going to hurt anything. Who cares about the stupidity of the Canadian media, the way they're acting right now on a mainstream level? You know, they've forgotten their jobs. But we got to ask those questions because we know that Justin Trudeau was read in earlier this year, and his cabinet, members of his cabinet. And we know that the opposition parties have been read in as well. Not by the Liberal government here of Justin Trudeau, but by their own research.
It's excellent. You guys are really pushing the ball forwards in Canada. I've spoken to Daniel on a number of occasions, and he's doing fantastic work as well. And it was great that he got confirmation that the UAPTF had briefed Canadian defence officials, which is great. And I know for a fact that UK defence officials have also been briefed and spoken to by the US military on this. However, I've yet to get confirmation from the MOD, who do not want to. The MOD, the UK MOD, do not want to go down this path. They don't want to comment.
Stop talking.
Stop talking. Okay, I'm gonna let Dave.
Stop talking, man. Stop talking. Come on.
They tells me that all the time.
Oh yes. Oh yes. You know. What's your boy asking for Christmas from Santa?
What do you want for Christmas?
I'm making a pizza face for Mummy because he's going to have me and a person. No.
Yeah, he's having fun creating a pizza on his iPad.
Very nice.
That's what he's doing.
Very nice.
And that's the most important thing in the world.
Now, just because he mentioned the word pizza, I'm going to get heartburn now. That's just the way it works. It's going to get heartburn now. We got 7 minutes to go before we got to take a break here at the top of the hour. Christopher Sharp from Liberation Times is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking about the UFO threat narrative here. You know, the one thing that I really, really liked about both Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon is that they really started to try and get away from Russia. They started to get away from China. They started to get away from the threat narrative to explain that there is something going on. But over the last number of months, we've seen Lou Elizondo go extremely quiet regarding his involvement in UFO media, in UFO subjects. I mean, there's rumors about him working for Space Force. There's rumors now that he has, been released from that position. I mean, what are you hearing? Where is Lou Elizondo gone?
Lou's working is as hard as he ever has. I think in terms of the quiet with the media, I think that it was just becoming really, really hard for him. I mean, there's so many people that support him, but I feel that certain people on certain podcasts and other unhinged individuals were just like, they're just being abusive to him. And I think it gets too much. I mean, I've experienced it before, but nowhere to the extent of Lou. And we're all human, and it really, really is nasty. And I think that he felt like perhaps the message wasn't getting across anymore. And I don't know. You've seen what it's like currently on there. It's very, very difficult because there's just people that will just attack you no matter what you say. I'm hoping that he comes back. I'm hoping that he comes back and starts talking again. But I know for a fact that he's working really, really hard on this topic still. And I think those who know Lou know that when you talk to him, sometimes you can just see that the guy's extremely tired. You can see it in his eyes, and the guy works hard. And that's still happening up to this day. And I feel that once the history books are written, I think a lot of people are going to be very, very thankful for what he's done. I mean, Lou's just fantastic. And I can just tell you on a personal note as well that, I've gone through tough times before that I've just wanted to quit. I just thought, I can't do this anymore because people are being just so abusive to me. And Lou's been the first person to call me and just give me a pep talk to say, Chris, it's fine. You're doing a great job. And, don't let this get to you. And, it's really lovely. And yeah, I just think he's fantastic. And yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about Lou. In terms of professionally speaking, he's never given me information that's ended up being incorrect, personally speaking. And I can trust him to be a good source. Like 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes did a lot of calls, did a lot of background checks before they had Lou on the show to say, look, is this guy legit? And people vouched for him. And I feel that, history will look fondly upon him.
Well, I hope so too. Lou has always treated us very well, but there is a rumor going around right now on whether or not he got fired from his job with Space Force because of Daniel Sheehan accidentally outing him publicly in working for that. I have talked to a number of people who have said, yes, the rumor is true. And I've talked to other people who say, no, the rumor is not. What are you hearing on that front?
So didn't Sheehan come out on Jimmy Church and say that he was working with Space Command? I think it was like Space Command that Sheehan mentioned. But I over the weeks following that, weeks and months following that, asked the Pentagon about it, saying, look, can you confirm if he works for Space Command? Does he work for Space Force? And I was getting zero answers from the Pentagon. So then after about 2 months of asking, and I know that others asked as well, and others made FOIA requests, I launched a formal complaint to the Pentagon Public Affairs Office that they weren't being transparent, and they were actually working against their own code of conduct. I copied the IG in, I copied certain members of Congress in as well to that email complaining, and that's when I got response in terms of confirmation. And it was made very clear to me at that point, sorry about the background, it was made very, very clear to me at that point that Space Force was investigating UAP. I've not asked Lou, I've not spoken to him recently very much about these rumors circulating. But all I can say is in terms of him working for Space Force, I think it proves that he does have a pedigree when it comes to this topic. So all these people saying that, ATIP wasn't a UAP program or Lou was lying, if that was the case, Space Force would have never employed him, and he wouldn't have had the clearances to ever work in a sensitive position, which got confirmed.
Yeah, and I can totally see and understand where you're coming from that. I think Lou is the type of guy who is, pushing the limits of what he can and cannot say, but there's a lot to question from a journalistic level that if he is working for Space Force and is working for disclosure at the same time, kind of is talking out of two sides of your mouth, as we got about 1 minute to go.
So I've always believed that this is a war within the Pentagon. It's a conflict, and I feel that certain branches of the military and certain offices may be pro-disclosure, certain ones may be anti-disclosure, and I've always felt that Space Force was one of those who were kind of like allies in terms of this and wanting to move the ball forward and being more transparent in terms of what is happening. So I viewed it very much from that context. I mean, if it turned out that Lou was working for OUSD-INS and was best friends with, Gary Reed, then yeah, definitely I'd question it. I think like, why is he doing that? He's working for the enemy here. What's going on? I question that. But in terms of Space Force, I've heard good things about them, and I think the new guy in charge, Saltzman, he's got very good pedigree, I hear, as well.
Excellent. On that note, Chris, we got you for 1 hour left on Spaced Out Radio. Christopher Sharp from Liberation Times, one of the top journalists when it comes to reporting on UFOs right around the world. We're going to get more into the UFO story. We're going to take your questions as well if you're in our chat rooms. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this.
Excellent. I'm loving it. It's great.
All right, buddy. I'm going to step away for a couple seconds. Dirty Filth, let's get to your beautiful face here, and get you showing what you're doing cartoon wise for us, my man.
Well, I'm not putting my face on the radio, Dave. The shine would
No, I know.
blind people for my dome.
Very true, Chris. If you need to step away for a couple seconds, we got about 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right, dude. I'm just gonna mute your mic. Okay, I'll be right back, Filth.
Okay, Dave, I'll be here. Sans cats. They're somewhere.
Check out your book and your calendar.
Thanks, Dave. Yes. You can find my book at Amazon. If you just type in cryptid cartoons, it's pretty much the first thing that comes up. Or you can go to filthy.com and all available lines are through there, as well as my calendar. Or if you want to buy prints, or I believe there's just a contact me if you just want to send me some like hate mail or something. Be like, you never draw what I want you to draw. You should draw. Ooh, actually, if you get an idea for a cartoon, send that to me. It's all at filthy.com, spelt with Y's. This always breaks my concentration here. I gotta get back in the zone here, but nonetheless, working on the second book, and I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of stickers and junk. So
I'm enjoying your work. This is fantastic.
thank you.
Excellent. I would also recommend buying this at Christmas. Murakami, fantastic author. The Elephant Vanishes, bunch of short stories, very entertaining.
The Elephant Vanishes.
Yeah, The Elephant Vanishes. I believe that one of the short stories, which I haven't actually read at the end, is about a vanishing elephant. It's very good. Like, Murakami is a very, very interesting author. He has a lot of quirky stories, and what I like about Murakami is that his stories don't always make sense, and that he leaves a lot of mystery in them.
Interesting. I always like reading new books. That's one thing I love to collect his books.
I love reading.
Sometimes-
I really love reading. I don't have the chance to read as much as possible. I'm always checking my phone and looking for that gratification stuff. Although it's probably good now because I've been locked out of my Twitter account on my phone. I can only access Twitter on my computer now because Elon Musk messed up the third-party authentication process. So I don't get confirmation of the code on my phone because it doesn't send to my phone because Elon Musk seems to mess up Twitter. But that's been a good thing because I no longer look at Twitter on my phone. I have to physically get on my computer now. So maybe I'll have more time to read.
I just always enjoyed reading. I got a lot of weird collections of books.
What's your favorite book?
I don't have a favorite book, but my favorite book series would be the Malazan Book of the Fallen by Ian Esselmont and Stephen Erickson. Good Canadian lads.
Nice.
It's a pretty difficult series to get into, but it's definitely my absolute favorite. But other than that, I like Clive Barker. His stories are just.
By the way,
I live in Alberta,
Can I ask you something?
so it's right beside Dave in the next province over, except much more flat, but not as flat as Saskatchewan. If you go a little further east and you get to Saskatchewan, they got like one hill in the entire province.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And they have the nerve to call it a mountain.
Yeah.
I remember I went to, after I graduated from university, I went to British Columbia, I went to Vancouver, and it was like, I was like on like a program, like a graduate program, and we could like go out and like work and stuff, and all of us.
It's actually the 20th today.
It is Lincoln, 20th, yeah.
How many?
5 days.
Daddy, can I just ask you, how did it been like this?
It's very exciting. If you behave yourself, I'll let you open the present today.
Daddy, Daddy,
Yeah?
I'm going to open them and find some more there.
Okay, my boy. We had like when I went to Canada, like a bunch of like the people like gonna work at like the ski resorts and stuff. I was gonna work in like a music store. But like one of the guys there, like he had literally like met someone from Yellowknife on like an internet chat room and had traveled to Canada just to meet this stranger. Don't think he knew what he was getting himself into going to Yellowknife.
No kidding.
Okay, he's got a Christmas calendar. He wants the 20th.
All right. Let's get, I'm just going to mute him. Dirty Filth, we're going to move you back. Go here. And want to say a big thank you tonight to NorCal, to Susie, to Deb, and Tim for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support that we get from you guys on a nightly basis. Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio right now.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Latericious. Latericious is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. From the Liberation Times, one of the top UFO reporting sites, we have journalist Christopher Sharp with us taking a look at 2022 and the year of the UFO. It's been up, it's been down, it's been in the water, it's been major in the stars. We don't know where the hell it's coming from. Chris, welcome back, man.
Hey there, good to see you again. Sorry, my son's in the background. He's making calls to relatives on his iPad.
That is very cool. So just so for our audience to know, it's like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. now where Christopher is in the UK, and his son woke up early right before the show and decided that he wanted to be a part of the show. So we're making a great time here. So we may have an interview with the son about UFOs as well. He's only 5. His name is Lincoln. And we're going to see maybe later on if Lincoln actually knows more about unidentified aerial phenomena than his dad, who's actually working on this on a full-time basis. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. And Christopher, once again, no worries about your boy. You know, that's what good dads do, man, is we have to double up on things sometimes, especially when it's holiday time right before Christmas, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he slept quite early last night, so he's full of beans this morning. But yeah, he's enjoying it, and that's what it's all about. You know, like I wouldn't have the Liberation Times if it wasn't for my son, because it was getting really difficult to look after him working my full time. So that's I'm here. Sorry, I'll be right back.
No problem. Well, you know what? The big thing about UFOs right now is, what is the real story? What is the big story of 2022? And we're going to get to audience questions here momentarily. But, you know, for me, it's been the absolute cover-up of everything once again. Like, we were starting to get that door open, and then all of a sudden it seemed to slam shut again, where earlier this year, the United States Navy came out and said, no, we're not giving you any more videos. We're not going to play this UFO game. We don't care what Congress says. We don't care what the politicians say. And Chris, for you in 2022, what has been the big story of UFOs?
Oh gosh, yeah. So there's been so much happening. Hearings. The hearing was pretty big. When my source told me about that was like, what? And I tried to confirm it with Carson's office and a whole bunch of other congressmen, just to kind of get that in the Daily Mail to make it like a big kind of like international exclusive, but none of them would be forthcoming with me. So in the end, that story had to go to Liberation Times, and it ended up that there was already some kind of agreement, from my understanding, that they would confirm it with the New York Times, which is why you got those official statements to them when they broke the story. But no, that was quite a big story. That moved the ball forward to a certain extent. It was an acknowledgement, let's say. It was an acknowledgement. All I would add in terms of what Bray and Moultrie were saying was that if they are testifying, maybe they were not briefed to a certain extent on this issue before going to Congress, which I know would sound really, really bad, but it gives them plausible deniability. And for me, that would make sense, that they were not briefed as much as they could be before that briefing. That's what I would say. That was interesting. And then we had the NASA UFO study as well, which broke.
Don't even get me started on that one, man. Don't even get me started on the NASA thing. I have been ripping NASA a new one every chance I get because of their ignorance on that.
Yeah. So if you go back to the Tom DeLonge emails with Podesta, you can see in there that there was clearly some kind of plan whereby NASA would be an educational front for getting this information out. One moment, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the big thing with NASA, though, is the fact that Bill Nelson, the executive director, literally came out and stated how mystified he was and that he believed there was life out there somewhere and potentially visiting us. He opened up this Pandora's box. But the big thing about Bill Nelson was the fact that he didn't mention it on a NASA form. He was mentioning it from a United States Navy form, that he had talked to pilots, that he had seen the videos, that he had literally been briefed on what was going on, and believed that we needed to have more discussion about this. But never once has Bill Nelson actually taken his position as a man from NASA and said, this is what we're hiding. And it's really, I guess what's really bugged me about the whole NASA phenomena regarding this, Chris, is not a single person has asked Bill Nelson or anybody from NASA, what is in your closet? Because there is numerous evidence, from astronauts to video evidence to even Elon Musk recently saying that there are anomalies that seem to be following the SpaceX rockets. And we just seem to be getting more and more into this whole atmosphere that, yes, every rocket since Gemini has been followed by UFOs. Every test flight into space, including the X-15 program, has been followed. The shuttles were followed. The ISS is followed. At some point, Bill Nelson can't sit there and play dumb anymore, Chris.
Yeah, so Bill Nelson got into this topic when he was briefed when he was a senator on the Armed Services Committee. So it was fantastic that he was made administrator of NASA. And yeah, you're correct. There's lots of testimony here about NASA hiding stuff. I feel that NASA does have a big part to play. If you go back to the DeLonge story, which I always like to do, by the way, he talks about meetings at NASA Ames. So it seems to me that there was some coordination with NASA from the beginning in terms of trying to get information out. And like I said, if you do go back to the Podesta emails, it seemed that there was some kind of plan to have a public kind of educational program on UAPs via NASA. So I find that quite interesting. But who knows how much they're going to get out? That's the big question. I mean, how much information is NASA going to release? How forthcoming are they going to be? I mean, there are questions already in terms of some of the people, some of the members on their study, and can we really trust them to not be too judgmental on this topic before they've even had a chance to look at it? So there's still questions about this study. I think that Bill Nelson is coming from the right place, but I feel that the study group, some of the members may not be coming from the right place. But I mean, it's early days yet, and NASA moves really, really slow when it comes to this stuff. So I can see a lot of impatience.
I can say we'll agree to disagree on that. I think NASA has played us for fools. The minute Bill Nelson opened up his mouth, and this is my point of view and my perspective, the minute Bill Nelson opened up his mouth regarding UFOs, somebody had to fact check him, and nobody has, by saying, Bill, what's in your closet? You have an office at NASA. What's in your closet? And he keeps dilly-dallying around the subject about this being a U.S. Navy subject. Bill, you've been an astronaut yourself. You've been up in space. You knew Edgar Mitchell. You knew McDivitt. You knew Cooper. You knew all of these guys who went public with their experiences in space. Tell us what NASA knows. What about Donna Hare, who has come out publicly saying that she helped scrub photos? Let's talk about it. Let's not talk about the United States Navy. This isn't you're not Navy anymore, Bill. You're about 50 years past your prime. Okay, let's get to it. You're NASA. Let's talk about NASA. And he doesn't want to. And to me, that just dumbs down this entire subject for the rest of us who have important questions, Chris.
No, I think you make a really good point. The question would be, in that case, how much does Nelson have access to? Are we in a situation, where Bill Clinton was president and information was being hidden from him and he was trying to search for answers? I don't know. That'd be certainly interesting. And if there was ever a round table with NASA that I'd be invited to, I would certainly ask some of those questions that you put forward, because I think those are very, very interesting. We've got people claim as well that Neil Armstrong knew a lot more information than he was letting on in public. We've got James Fox saying that he was invited to Buzz Aldrin's hotel room to potentially speak about them seeing UFOs on the moon, like his sister was saying. But then the last minute, Buzz Aldrin cancelled. So there's some really, really interesting stories there that I feel would make good stories, and it'll be something that I'll be looking to break in the upcoming months and years ahead if I can.
Well, let's hope we can get to it, because a little bit of honesty goes a long way in this field. Let's get to some audience questions here. We'll start off with Mennonite Abe here, who is asking, Chris, a Liberation Times article talked about upcoming UFO hearings in the U.S. and also legacy UFO information. What are you hearing on these?
Yeah, sure. So it was confirmed to me that the whistleblower language that first appeared in the Intelligence Authorization Act, which was created by the Senate Intelligence Committee, that did not come from a vacuum. They didn't wake up one day and think, "Oh, we're just going to include this language. It'll be fun. Let's just include it." I mean, we're talking serious legislation here. And they wouldn't have come up with that legislation unless they had a good reason and they were very, very certain there was something to this. In my belief, whistleblowers have already come forward. That legislation wasn't created in a vacuum, and people have already spoken to Congress. And from my information, they provide verifiable information in terms of the locations of some of these programs, which is something George Knapp has also relayed to his listeners. And from my understanding, that information has been verified to a certain extent again. So maybe, I mean, I don't know the full facts on this, but maybe that means that Congress has found the locations where some of this may have been happening, but they've been denied access. when they want to get in to see the real goodies. I don't know. I mean, that's something I need to find more information about. And then when it comes to hearings, so I had a conversation with, I think it was two sources back in, I think it was November. And what I was getting back then was that they were very, very confident that once National Defence Authorization Act passed, we could then look forward to public hearings. Now, that may have not been with whistleblowers talking about legacy programs, which will ultimately be up to Congress to see what they can disclose on that, which I feel that pressure does need to be put on Congress, by the way, to disclose as much information as possible. But when I talk about public hearings, it would be more about people like, let's say, Elizondo and Fravor and people like that, so that they could actually educate the American public that no, like Julian Barnes and people like that who are trying to portray this as Chinese drones, that is not true. We're dealing with something very, very advanced we just can't explain. So that was put forward to me. But now the line seems to be that they're not so confident and that it's ultimately a decision up to Congress. And I feel that Congress does need to do this. I can't just be Burchett speaking out about this alone, because he's going to get fed up in the end and he's just not going to want to talk about it because no one else is going to back him up. I feel that Rubio, Warner, Gillibrand, everyone needs to be more vocal at the moment. And that will go a long way in terms of this. I think that hearings would help. But let's not forget as well that they're asking these whistleblowers who may come forward to potentially get themselves in serious trouble. So they should be speaking up about this. And they should also be speaking up about the repercussions as well. They should be talking about whistleblowers, and they should be talking about the fact that they will not tolerate persecution and intimidation. I feel that if you're going to ask these people to do such a big thing, you need to be backed up to a certain extent in public. I think that is needed.
I think you brought up a really good point there with Tim Burchett, the congressman who really has nothing to do with the UFO public or anything like that. He's just an inquisitive congressperson, whether you agree with his politics or not. We're talking UFOs here, but he seems to be the only one who's really speaking with some honesty here, saying, going as far as saying we're being lied to by our fellow politicians and the military as to what they're seeing. And then he talks about what he has seen personally, and saying it's nothing. They're not talking about anything that I've seen. I mean, it's pretty amazing how vocal he has been regarding his angst and anger towards the way this topic is being brought forward in the American media.
Yeah, absolutely. And armed services and intelligence committees may have been briefed even further and seen even more of the goodies. A lot. Obviously, at the moment, we're in a situation which is quite perilous in terms of the Ukraine and China. I really understand that. My argument would be to Congress that this is not sustainable in terms of nuclear weapon situations. We've nearly had Armageddon so many times since we've created this destructive technology. And with Russia and China now playing up like they are, how sustainable is it that human civilization will survive for the next 70 years, given that other countries are most likely going to get hold of these destructive weapons as well, that may be even more dangerous? This is not sustainable, the situation that we're in at the moment. We can either carry on the same way as we have been for the last thousands of years in terms of wars and stuff, and then end up just eradicating ourselves, or we could chart a new path and discovering what is really going on and work together with other nations, which is why San Marino's potential initiative is so important in terms of bringing this to the United Nations. And I feel that congressmen should really look for this as a way forward in terms of how to progress international relations and to potentially bring global peace. I think it's worth a try because at the moment we're not on a very good trajectory.
Very true. Let's go to Tim here, who is asking, question, who is making it hard to report on the UFO topic right now?
Oh, great question. So The first answer will be the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, which is where Arrow has previously rested. So despite the fact that Gary Reed is no longer in position, he was removed. And by the way, he's now an advisor to the DIA. And it's basically like being an operations director in McDonald's head office, and then now working as a restaurant manager. I mean, if anyone wants to tell me that he wasn't removed from his position, that something didn't seriously go wrong, I just don't believe you, because he's been demoted, and from my understanding, he may be removed altogether from the Pentagon. So let me just get out of the way first. So that was his office, the Undersecretary. That was kind of like where he lay in terms of his position. And it was my understanding that there are still allies of Gary Reed in that office who do not want this information out, who are not taking it as seriously as they could do, which is, from my understanding, why Kirkpatrick is no longer reporting to them when it comes to operations and intelligence aspects of what Arrow is doing. So the guys there, they were a problem, and they still remain a problem. So it's good that Kirkpatrick has kind of like been removed to that from a certain extent now. And the other ones would be the US Air Force. I reported a story recently in terms of allegations that that certain personnel had been reprimanded for trying to be more forthcoming in terms of the UAP topic and what was happening with the US Air Force. So those guys are major blockers. And also, from my understanding, they were fully on board to kind of cooperate with the UAPTF at the beginning, but then they just did a 360 turn and they just stopped cooperating. They even ran a UAP pilot program in terms of reporting incidents, and it was confirmed to me that they had stopped running that program. But those guys are major problems, I'd say. Like those would be the two places I would look to in terms of saying, look, these guys are the blockers.
I want to kind of do a follow-up there because we have about 2 minutes to go here. We'll get to more audience questions when we get back from the break at the bottom of the hour. But how much of this is progressive versus the old school way? Because the old school way, from what I'm hearing, is there is a great divide of about 50-50. 50-50 is 50% of the people want to bring out some sort of confirmation / disclosure, as long as it doesn't hurt American national security. The other 50% don't want it coming out at all because there's still a large religious sect, in God We Trust sect within the government, that says this is all evil, this is demonic, it's not biblical, it goes against everything that we stand for as a country. We cannot deal with this subject, and we can't let our citizens deal with this subject. Is that what you're hearing too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also that it's not just government. We're dealing with another party as well, and that's the contractors. I've written previously that, look, the likes of Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, who may have certain materials, they're no longer potentially attracting the best talent to their respective companies. A lot of that talent now is going to SpaceX and other new companies that are coming out who can provide kind of better salaries that seem more glamorous. So that there may be, look, if they are having trouble reverse engineering this technology, then shouldn't they be more vocal about saying, look, we do have some really cool stuff, and then attract the best talent to come and study this?
If you were an engineer, or if I was an engineer and somebody came up to me after graduation and said, hey, how would you like to work on some UFO technology? I'm there. I don't care if it's 20 grand a year or 200,000 a year. I want to work on some woo. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that would be right up my alley, but we will get more into it from the Liberation Times. Christopher Sharp, journalist extraordinaire when it comes to all things UFO. We're going to continue with your audience questions. when we return on Spaced Out Radios. We have Christopher until the top of the hour. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Great job, man. Great job.
Thank you. Some great questions there.
Oh, yeah. We got a few more good ones coming for you here, too. Reminder to everyone out there, if you don't mind, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. It helps with our algorithms. And if you're new here, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week for your listening ears. And we absolutely love and adore each and every one of you. And in a humble way on helping us grow this show bigger and better each and every night. So thank you so much for your support. And really helps us out, everyone. It really does. So appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you're having a great time tonight. Christopher Sharp. Want to remind you that if you want to join us in Las Vegas, Nevada, hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. If you want to join us in Las Vegas, Nevada, May 19th through 21st, 2023, we are having the second annual Spaced Out Radio Fan Party. Yeah, we're going to bring in a bunch of special guests for you to hang out and mingle with to talk UFOs, Bigfoot, paranormal, and so on. Some of the names that have confirmed so far, Jim Goodall and Michael Schratt. Merle is going to be there from Ghosts of the Great White North. Science Bob is going to be there. Lorian Fenton, Melinda Leslie, Misha Johnson will be there. We are working on many others. Nate and Corey Rudd from WIBS in the Sasquatch Reporters out of Washington State are going to be there. Carter Bouchard is going to be there as well. Jürgen Hess from Hoodoo Tall is coming from that documentary. Darcy Weir, I believe, documentarian, is going to be joining us as well. We're going to have a great time. You're going to meet and be able to hang out with everyone that you want in this field, and we got great people coming. All we need is you at the Golden Nugget Casino and Resort in Las Vegas. We are going to do a 7-hour YouTube channel because our entire team is going to be in Vegas. Our entire team is going to be in Vegas for that weekend. So we want to make sure that you come join us. We do have an event page for it. You can go on Facebook and sign that up. If you want more info, all you got to do is email info@spacedoutradio.com. We have two packages. One for $60 gets you in, and one VIP package, which is $100. It gets you a swag bag. It gets you into a VIP get-together. It gets you into the live show and everything. So it's a well worth it weekend for all of you out there. So make sure you come join us. And who knows, maybe we could get Sharp on an aircraft and come to Las Vegas with us. Absolutely. We need you there.
That'd be fantastic. I've not been invited to any UFO events, like all these other people I know are being flown out. But what about me? Being left out.
Everyone. Hey, if I'm paying my own way, you're paying your own way, man.
I need a Bigelow. That's what I need. Liberation Times needs a Bigelow. Look, that people would support Liberation Times, let's say financially, in terms of, but I don't know. Like I could do it if the person was like, I'm not going to get involved in terms of editorial and give you the freedom to do whatever you want. That'd be great. I could do this full time. But unfortunately, that offer has not come yet. I'm
waiting too. I know the feeling, my man. I know the feeling. Hey, we're all there. We're all the same. Hey, there's our man, Red Panda Koala. How you doing, buddy? Thank you so much for that super chat, my friend. Very much appreciate you and all your hard work there, Red Panda. Your channel is amazing, and everybody listening to us should go hit subscribe on Red Panda Koala if you like good UFO videos and documentaries. That dude puts his heart and soul into them. Great interview as well. We got to bring you back, man. Thank you for the love. Also, big thank you to Mennonite Abe, Thomas Fessler from Disclosure Tonight, NorCal, Susie, Deb, and Tim for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love, everybody. Really, really do. And where are we here? We got about 45 seconds until we're going, yeah, this will be our second annual fan party in Vegas that we'll be doing in May. So we got a bunch of people coming. Dirty Filth is going to be there drawing cartoons for everybody. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Last year we had like 60 people. 60 people last year. And we're hoping to get like around 100 or so. Maybe more. Hey, Super Duke. Super Duke. How you doing, buddy? By the way, if anybody sees Jules in the chat room tonight, let's wish her a happy birthday. Hopefully she comes on in so we can sing her happy birthday tonight. All right, don't forget you can do your shopping at spacedoutradio.com. We got great swag there for you. And for all hair tips, we point you to Christopher Sharp for those. Here we go. Second of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Let's continue on. We have until the top of the hour from the Liberation Times, our good friend Christopher Sharp, 2022, a year in review of the UFO. We're going to go to a question here from the Paisley Wave, not the Paisley Wave, the Paisley Wave. Chris, what is the significance of the Obamas producing a film dedicated to a UFO incident? Have you heard this?
Yes, I have. It's his production company who are going to produce a film relating to that case, which is very, very interesting. I think, firstly, it's in terms of this case, it's also kind of like a civil rights case in terms of that as well. In terms of you've got like two people from different races, loving each other at a time when there was a lot of hatred across the divide at that time because of race relations. So I think that's what also makes the case very, very interesting as well. That these guys had to put up with terrible hatred and racism, which is totally awful. So that's something that kind of makes that case probably significant to the Obamas in terms of something whereby love overcame hatred. But also I think in terms of the UFO aspect, I think it's very interesting. We know that a lot of the activity with Tom DeLonge was happening when Obama was president. We know that Podesta was working with Obama as well within that administration when those conversations were happening around that same time period. So I find that very interesting. We also know that Harry Reid as well was on the Gang of Eight during that period and was very, very close to Obama. So we know that there are some connections. We know that Obama seemed to have spoken about it seriously as well. So I think it's a step in the right direction, definitely.
Well, the funny part that I heard about it was that this wasn't going UFO at all. That this was supposed to be almost like a political type movie about an interracial couple in the 1960s getting together and what it was like and the troubles they had due to racism and social stigma and everything like that. And from what I am hearing, it hasn't been, or they're not planning on getting into the whole UFO aspect at all, which I found kind of ironic. Why would you choose Betty and Barney Hill? I mean, I'm sure there was more than one interracial couple in the 60s back then.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult actually having that story without having the UFO aspect.
Exactly.
I feel like it will be very glaring, and they'll probably get a lot of Yeah, there'll be a lot of questions asked if they don't even touch upon that, because I mean,
Oh,
why is this couple known in the first place?
yeah. You know what? It's not really because they were interracial that anybody cared. It has everything to do with aliens, and that's what doesn't make sense.
It's going to be
You know.
an interesting an interesting watch, and I can see the angle that they're coming at it from, and it is a truly inspirational story, especially when we're dealing with this context in terms of the story. So yeah, it would just be very difficult for me just to ignore that aspect of the story. It's about, you're having a documentary on Bill Murray's career, but you don't mention Ghostbusters, kind of like that. Obviously, I'm just saying
Right. I'm going to be curious to see how Kathleen Marden really goes down that road. I'm very curious about it. Let's go to Bad Cop here. Christopher, unrelated non-UFO question. Has any news broke from the recent news of Christine McVie's death? No cause of death was released when it was announced a couple weeks ago.
Oh, this is the Fleetwood Mac
Yeah.
member. Yeah, that was really interesting. I love Fleetwood Mac, by the way. From my understanding, that it was a story whereby, even some of her closest friends didn't know that she was ill until she died, until like a few days before she died. That's really interesting. Don't usually get into those topics in terms of my journalism background, but I can certainly ask around in terms of some of my contacts, see if I can, find some information on that. Yeah, great band, Fleetwood Mac.
All right, let's go to Shelley, who is asking, what are your thoughts on this? Someone here opened the wrong tunnel door, or your thoughts on this? Someone here opened the wrong tunnel door. I'm assuming that's about, the information that's flowing out, where it's coming from, who's opening the doors, who's getting in trouble, who's not.
He's getting in trouble in terms of this issue. So there's a lot of I'm hearing a lot of chatter about whistleblowers getting a lot of threats in their personal lives, and the pushback is real. The pushback is real. You can never speak in terms of being 100% this, 100% that, because it very much is a battle, and this stuff is still in progress. Although people within the US Air Force might like to mock this topic in public, I can tell you that privately it's very, very serious, and there are threats occurring, like I reported, in terms of personnel being reprimanded. But I think in terms of whistleblowers, I think some of them are really, really scared because they're putting everything on the line, and it's definitely a tunnel that's getting a lot of people in trouble, and I think it's quite dramatic behind the scenes at the moment. That's what I keep on hearing anyway.
Do you think we're actually going to get a whistleblower movement? Do you think we're going to get a bunch of people coming out of the closet? And I'll give you my opinion. I don't think we are. I think the government and these politicians are way too afraid of the military-industrial complex. Over the last 50 years, especially, the military has done a great job at subventing its building of everything from weaponry to ships to airplanes and helicopters, and putting pieces all around in different states in the U.S., and it's very easy for them to have political clout. Like, hey, we'd hate to pull those tires on the new F-35s from the state of Missouri here and move them out to California. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot of political posturing when it comes down to this whistleblower effect.
It's already happened. Whistleblowers have already come out. That's how the legislation came out, because there have been people speaking to the Senate Intelligence Committee. So that's already happened. Whistleblowers are already out there, and they've been very, very brave in terms of helping push the ball forward so that we can get this legislation on the table. I know that there are some people who speak quite negatively about the legislation, that they're quite pessimistic. But when we're talking about whistleblowers, there are all sorts of whistleblowers, and people seem to be familiar with different kinds of whistleblowers. So one source may know 12 whistleblowers, another source may know 2 whistleblowers, but they all may be different people, unconnected. In terms of the sources that I have who are connected to whistleblowers, they seem quite pleased about the language that has kind of been finalized with the National Defence Authorization Act. So what will happen, that there is now like a clear pathway to get this information up to Congress. They have to report to Arrow, and then Arrow has to validate the information. And then after that, they tell Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense. Then the Secretary of Defense has 72 hours to make sure that information gets to the key congressional committees. So there is a clear path forwards now. And if there are people who are trying to threaten whistleblowers and are acting badly, then the new legislation is very, very clear that such behavior is prohibited. And the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, and Avril Haines, Director of National Intelligence, it's their responsibility now to establish procedures to ensure that that language is upheld in terms of prohibiting such behavior. So in other words, if you are caught threatening whistleblowers or doing anything else which is bad, let's say, then ultimately you're going to have to answer to Lloyd Austin and Avril Haines. So I think if that is upheld, that Austin and Haines are successful and they are serious about this, I think it would be quite a big deterrent in terms of protecting whistleblowers.
Well, we can only hope. We can only hope. And we also got to hope that the U.S. military, namely the Navy right now, is going to play by the rules, which it doesn't sound that they're going to want to, or it doesn't sound like the U.S. Air Force has any interest in it either.
I can tell you, the UAP task force, it wasn't established. I think it wasn't established by the intelligence committee in terms of the Senate when it first, because people were only, I think it was 2000. Sorry, I'm getting really bad here. I think it was 2019 or 2020 when it first became apparent that the UAPTF was a thing, and then in August, I think the Secretary of Defense basically approved the establishment of the UAPTF, something like that. It was all done officially, but the UAPTF was an entity before then that the Navy had going for it. So the UAPTF wasn't anything very new when it first appeared in the public sphere. So it was an ongoing program from the US Navy. That's backed up by sources, but also if you look at the language within the Intelligence Authorization Act, which mandated that there be a report from the UAPTF, it was clearly stated that it was kind of an ongoing effort, and it wasn't created by that language either. So yeah, so the Navy has been invested in this topic, let's say, before it was ever on the public radar.
Well, we're done with our audience questions for right now, but I mean, where do we go? I mean, there seems to be roadblock after roadblock in information, or whether it's changing of directives, whether it's changing of organizations from the UAPTF to, Arrow or whatever we're at now. It just seems like we're playing Scrabble with whatever program they're creating next, when every program under each name could do the exact same job. Are they trying to confuse us on purpose here, or are they in the government, in the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., that confused on what to do with this topic?
Firstly, there isn't just one UAP program in terms of Arrow. We know Space Force, for example, is looking into this. Lou basically admitted that in my article. And it's hard to see what else Space Force were using Lou Elizondo for. So that's the first thing I'd say. In terms of Arrow and its destiny, I mean, that's very much up in the air. I'm still not certain about Kirkpatrick, whether he's going to seriously look at this or not. So that's a question I have in my head still. And if he's being influenced by the wrong people, perhaps as well, that's something I'm asking myself as well. But look, I do know that Congress is very, very serious about this, and that a lot is happening behind the scenes at the moment. I've been told that by a lot of unconnected sources. So I tend to believe that. So I'm just hoping that they're more proactive in public as they are behind the scenes in terms of your Rubios and your Gillibrands, because I feel that they do need to speak up about this. So I feel that is needed. I think more is needed from the Congress to really move this ball forwards. But you can bet that the likes of Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and others who are working behind the scenes are really, really pushing this as much as they can. And as I said, someone who has spoken to Lou before, the guy's tired. The guy works his ass off to try and push this ball forward. So I believe that that's just in his nature, and I think he's going to continue doing that. And journalists like myself as well, and people like yourself and Daniel Otis and Jeremy Corbell, we're all going to continue pushing this ball forwards. And I think that we can break some great news in terms of this topic in 2023. I've got one more story coming out in the Daily Mail, maybe this week, next week, in terms of the NDAA language, which will be really, really good. 3 stories already this month, which is great. And I think we're going to do some really, really good things in 2023. It's going to be an even better year, I think, for me as a journalist, in terms of what I know, what's coming up. So I'm quite bullish myself, but it can't all be reliant on journalists. Congress needs to be more proactive publicly as well.
Well, you know what? I look forward to those articles, and I look forward to absolutely everything that you write regarding the subject. But where should the public be aiming? Because the public seems to be getting more and more frustrated with what's going on. It just seems like a lot of, back and forth, circular motion. There's never seemed to be on the right path or the right page here. I mean, at some point, are we going to get that report? Is it now going to be delayed into 2023? Are we going to get more hearings? What are you hearing about those two?
The report is a total information vacuum. It was made very, very clear on Friday that just because they were giving a briefing, it didn't mean that the report was going to come. In terms of that report, there's a lot of liaison that goes on as well. So Arrow provides the information to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. It's then up to the ODNI to put together a report based on that information, whilst coordinating with other agencies and offices. And at the same time, although Congress has not received the report, there is liaison going on between ODNI and Congress, because there's something called legislative affairs within the ODNI, and their task is to liaise with Congress when it comes to these reports. So they'll be liaising with Congress to ensure that the report matches the intent required by Congress in legislation. So that's happening as well. But I mean, I don't know what I don't know. I did hear from a very, very good source who would definitely 100% be in a position to know when it would be released. And that person basically led me to believe that it was definitely going to be in November and that we were going to see something very soon, but that didn't happen. So in terms of this topic, I'm just not going to make any more predictions. I do not know what's happening. I know the process involved, but in terms of the dynamics currently, I really don't know. It seems to be an information vacuum, and I don't think anyone fully knows what's happening in terms of my contacts, at least. I would hope it gets released soon, though. I really, really do. So yeah, that's what I have to say on that. Sorry, what was the other aspect of your question again?
Oh, in regards to, well, it was 2 parts.
Yeah.
It was in regards to the report And the second part, will we get more public congressional hearings?
So yeah, I think in terms of what the public should be pushing for at the moment is more transparency. I understand that Congress is trying to untangle some really, really complicated, sensitive stuff behind the scenes at the moment. And it's very understandable that they may not be making public comments at the moment. But I do feel that the public should be pushing for more hearings to extinguish this false narrative that these are entirely Chinese drones. I believe that we should be pushing for more clarity from Congress on that. And I feel that once we are in a situation where Congress does have enough information, then is the time to really push them to disclose as much information as possible publicly. I feel that those are the two things that we should concentrate on in terms of getting some more public hearings to get more clarity, and to also ask Congress to be more forthcoming and proactive in terms of getting this information made public. That could be in anywhere in terms of disclosing information to speaking out about this topic more, and why they are including these provisions in the National Defence Authorization Act, which is very, very significant.
Let's get to one question here from Tammy. So we only got about 3.5 minutes. Do you believe the Holloman Air Force Base incident was real?
I don't know what to believe. I know that sources who are very, very credible, that are unconnected, have stated that that was real. And my question in return was, okay, let's say that this is fact, that there was contact made. I think it was like 1971 when that happened. What happened? What was the conversation about? Who spoke to them? Is there an ongoing conversation now? If there is an ongoing conversation, who's having that conversation? Were there any deals signed? I don't know. That those are the questions that you would ask if you were told that this took place. What happened to that contact? Who's currently in charge of this contact? I mean, yeah. I mean, it seems quite crazy to me that this might be real, but when very good sources are telling you that it is real, then you have to double think. And I keep an open mind in terms of that possible scenario. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I mean if the whistle ever broke on that one, aka the Pandora's box ever broke on that one, the video footage is there of the UFO coming down and landing. And man, that's one video I want to see, Chris. That is one video I want to see. All you have to do is release that one and it's game over.
Yeah, definitely. I think Harry Reid basically said it's there. It's there. Let's get it released.
Right? We have 90 seconds left with you tonight, or for your morning, and then you can take off your journalist hat and put your father's hat back on. I want to say a big thank you to your hard work this year in journalism with this subject. We need more like you out there. We need more proper journalism regarding this subject. You know, I can sit here and I can give an opinion all night long. That's my job. And to kind of try and steer our audience into a proper way. But it's people like you who are doing the deep digs and the deep dives into everything, working your sources to keep this story alive is fantastic work, Chris. Do me a favor, tell everybody where they can find your articles and the Liberation Times.
Yeah, sure. Firstly, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And my website is www.liberationtimes.com. So you can find all my articles in there. You can also find me on Twitter as well. It's at Chris UK Sharp. And then Liberation Times also has a Twitter page as well, which is at Liberation Times. No spaces or anything between.
Love it. Love it, my friend. Merry Christmas to you, your lovely wife, and your son. And thank you for taking the time for our audience. I'm not a happy holidays guy. I'm a Merry Christmas guy. And so thank you. Enjoy your holiday and enjoy being a dad at this time of year, because there's nothing better.
Excellent. No, likewise. Have a lovely Christmas and a happy New Year. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Christopher Sharp, he'll be back here in 2022 on Spaced Out Radio. He's one of the best out there when it comes to UFOs and reporting the news. Let's head to the swamp next to kick off hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio. Great job tonight, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for your hard work as well. What you've done in terms of the Canadian conversation is absolutely fantastic. And we're nowhere near that in the UK. That's all I can say.
We're trying. And thank you to Ottawa for opening up to us. So that's pretty good too. I'll let you go tend to your boy because I know it's early there and he's probably hungry. So get you some breakfast in there and we'll continue on here, my friend.
Thanks, brother. Take care. I'll speak to you soon.
We'll talk soon. Bye-bye. All right, that's Christopher Sharp. Where's Dirty Filth at? The dirty one. Oh, there's Blob. We have a Blob sighting, everyone.
Blob sighting. Yeah.
Excuse me. I'll be right back there, Filth. You got this one.
Okay.
You got the good stuff here.
I'm trapped by the blob, by the way. So here we go.
And don't forget to promote your book and calendar.
Yes. Well, you can go to filthy.com, spell it with Y's. You can collect my book there. Or you can go to amazon.com, just plug in cryptid cartoons. It'll be the first thing that comes up. It's a green cover with an alien. It's Carl, basically. And for all you dweebs on the internet, it's green covered like that. Yep. I actually had a witty thing to write out here, but I forgot it at work. So nonetheless, let's go to filthy.com. There's a calendar there. You can buy my book. You can buy prints. And there's also some cartoons on spacedoutradio.com as well. But best place to go, filthy.com. Buy my book, supply my crippling pizza addiction, and snacks for the blob. Kind of finished this drawing a little bit early, but nonetheless, it's the New York news story from 2017. We got the super old alien telling Junior, still got a copy of that newspaper, son. And this again. So, yes. Remind me every year. It's still important, folks. It's still important that they did that. Because it was a mainstream media. I'm using the quotation things. Bloody hell, blob. So mainstream media thing put out a big story like that, and it wasn't just like Jim's Conspiracy or Weekly World News or whatever. So I figured I'd draw crusty old alien telling about it, and boy's like, yeah, whatever. Basically, that's going to be somebody's Roswell for the most part, because some kids, like 5-year-old kid right now, be like, yeah, 2017. I'm not good at math. Might be a little bit late. Settle down, Blob. Yeah, Blob's been under the weather. We've been trying to administer as much whiskey as possible, but nonetheless, basically the New York Times is going to be somebody's Roswell. They'll be like, this is where UFO started. And that's a swindle. But then I guess if you went back in time, now I'm just spitballing here. I'm rambling and probably to edit this out here. They got all those like wood painting or wood carvings, whatever the hell you call them, back in the day, UFOs and junk. That was their Roswell. Now we have our Roswell if you're like however old and under, but hold on a second here. Look at that. Breaking the law again without Dave's permission. Sneak him in there. Nonetheless, unless we're not supposed to. Anyways, whatever. Point is, everybody's got a Roswell, and all this stuff has to come back. They're just going to have to tell everybody, like, straight up. We've had aliens forever. I mean, we didn't draw pictures of flying ships that were vandalized other things. I mean, that's just lazy thinking. So, anyways.
Filth, you are so naughty.
I know, I got unpopular opinions, man. It just can't be like that. I was in elementary school looking up these, like, plugging in books for Sasquatch and aliens and junk, and my elementary school had books on that stuff. And
Right.
so that's where it got me. Now look at me. Draw cartoons and
It's your
cats.
backstory. Yeah, that's your backstory. Your origin story, if you will.
Yeah, my origin story. I've been looking at this stuff forever.
Hey, Dirtus. Hey, little Tibby Senor.
He snuck me in the back door again.
Let me tell you, when it's minus 30 plus, it doesn't matter how well your home is insulated. It's cold.
Yep. That'll happen up there in the Great White North, eh?
Yep.
It's just
It's actually very dark.
It's dark and crazy cold.
It's very dark out. There's no moon tonight.
Oh, Dave, you're gonna have dogmen.
Probably. Let me just wipe the snow from my mustache right now. Hey, a big thank you tonight to Shelly, Tammy, Red Panda ×2, Mennonite Abe, Thomas, NorCal, Susie, Deb, and Tim for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate it. We're going to get going here in about 10 seconds, everyone. Do.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Latericious. Latericious is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. I was 18 years old and in the Job Corps in Sedro-Woolley, Washington. It was late one night and all of us who had become friends were watching movies inside the day room. Me and a guy I became friends with decided to walk outside of the campus to this old mental hospital, I believe. It would help if you Googled it to find its name, but personally, I don't remember. I know it's either in Sedro-Woolley, Washington or outside Sedro-Woolley, Washington, sharing the same land as the job course. So, anyway, we walked outside through this field, and we get to an area where we're standing facing the building on the side. So we're looking at it horizontally. You can tell that many of the windows are shattered, and the place looks old and messed up. Anyway, it looked like a light was in one of the rooms, and there was a crescent moon that night, kind of like a quarter moon up in the sky, so I turned to Jared and said, "Look, there's a light on." I was trying to scare him. I thought that the moon was reflecting off the back of the building or something and causing it to appear like there was a light on in that room. So he was getting freaked out, like, no way. How's there a light on? So then as we are talking, We look back and notice another light is on in the room right next to that one. So as we were talking, we were like gesturing with our bodies, so I assumed we had just moved a little bit, but it made the other room light up. So I started talking to him, and we started to walk back a little bit, and it seemed like my idea was right. Whenever we moved, that light turned off. The other room lit up. So this went on for a little bit when I pushed him back and forth slightly, and it looked like one room that was lit up with this light would go out. Then suddenly, it would look like the other room would light up. So we're standing there, talking. He's telling stories from what he's heard from other people around here about the asylum, saying some electric chair was in there in the basement or something, and they used to do lobotomies and all kinds of crazy stuff. Said there's probably ghosts and all that. The whole time I was listening to this nonsense, thinking this was hilarious. So we both looked back and both rooms were lit up with light, which surprised me because we didn't move at all. Then I looked at him and he looked at me, and we're like, weird. Both the rooms are lit up now. Then we look back in the chambers. They are black, pitch black, no light anywhere. I look back up and the moon is in the same spot and nothing had changed. So I don't understand how both of these rooms were just now all of a sudden lit up at the same time. And then right before our eyes, they both went dark. I don't know if my mind was playing tricks on me, but it looked like I could see a face in the window. Anyway, we went back the next day and looked around the windows to see if there were any lights in there or any signs of anybody that could have been living there or something. And it didn't appear anyone would be living there. The place was trashed, and we're way out in the mountains of Cedro Woolley, a job corps. There is nothing around here. It was extraordinary, and we were at such a distance that if there was a person there, natural, and it definitely wasn't the moonlight.
You know what's cool about that story from Swamp Dwellers? We say thank you to him. Is our good buddy Merle, who will be here in 2 nights. He's investigated that asylum, and he says it is haunted as anything. Haunted as anything. So we thank the Swamp Dweller for bringing us another spooky story, as he does each and every Monday through Friday night to kick off hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio. If you want to hear thousands of those stories or others, check out the Swamp Dwellers channel. Go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads, and you're good to go. You are good to go. All right, from the swamp to the stars, it's time to bring in little Timmy Senor, a resident Timbit, on the UFO report.
Nobody's going to know.
They're going to know.
And here we go, little Timmy Senor hanging on out with us, all bundled up in plus temperatures, sitting in Oregon right now. Oh, dude, it is so cold up here. So cold. I don't wish this on anyone.
Yeah, you have chosen wisely in your selection of the place to live. And the funny thing is your very next second best place on the planet to live is Vegas, which is the complete polar opposite, quite literally, of where you currently are. You're either going to freeze or you're going to melt. You're the funniest guy.
Or go broke, one of the two.
Or go broke somewhere on the way there. That's right. I love it. I love it. What a great interview with Mr. Christopher Sharp, or should I say Lincoln Sharp, perhaps in this case. But man, what a great interview, and some great insight too as to what went on in that insiders meeting for the media. It was great.
You know what I loved about Christopher tonight is he is your prototypical journalist. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He doesn't take opinion. He's all about the facts. Excuse me. And that's really the way it should be. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it should be, and really be providing what we need to do.
Yeah.
You know, in order to get this information out. And that's what I really appreciate about him. Very much appreciate that.
I follow his career and his writing very closely, and the thing I like most is that he's a dad first. You know, he doesn't pause his work, he includes, and I think that's fantastic, and I commend him.
Me too, my man. I just want to respond to something about Joe here in the chat room. He is saying, Dave, don't sit in your warm, nice studio telling me how cold it is. Well, Joe watches this show outside in his garage in California. But let me tell you something, Joe. I have a heater right here at my feet. Okay, my studio is not warm tonight. It is not warm tonight. It is cold. You know, it is colder than the hearts of Toronto Maple Leafs fans. You know, I mean, it is that cold, man.
Ooh, that's frigid.
Yep.
I love it.
No, absolutely. So I do have a heater in here today because literally I live in a house. Okay, so people who don't understand, my studio is in my house. And my house is 50 years old. And if there is a little crack in the foundation or a little crack in the wood.
Little crack in Dave.
The wind is getting through. The cold is getting through.
Howling.
Well, it's not howling anymore. But I'll tell you, since I redid my doors, and my windows this year, I'll tell you, my house isn't as cold as it used to be. I would be at this time of year in a winter jacket sitting in my office. It would be freezing down here, but that's okay. Hey, we're going to get to the UFO report right off the bat here, man, because you sent me a video today of some breaking news. What was going on there?
You bit. So sure, we can talk about that. That was actually shot by your friendly neighborhood me off of a live cam from Maui, Hawaii. And so I was just checking out the weather conditions because I like to be in on what's going on my favorite part of the planet, right there on Maui on the west side. And as I was looking in at the live cam, I noticed a flash of lightning. And so I zoomed in on that flash of lightning, and sure enough, there was an interesting anomaly in that bolt of lightning. And I've taken a close look at it, and there's an anomaly in that bolt of lightning. And so I've made it kind of part of my free time to take a look at webcams. And sure enough, there was something really interesting this time. So it kind of hits home. That's my breaking news. And I wasn't sure if you'd bring it up or not, but I'm proud to bring it up. And it's encouraging the audience more than anything to just take a look at live cams. If you're looking for UFO, look around the world. You can do it from your couch. Just check in on those live cams. And so the one I looked at was Maui Beach Resort, taking a look out on Kaanapali Beach yesterday in the afternoon. And I think I sent you the video shortly after with a zoom in of what appears to be a very dark, ominous disc looking shape, or maybe two shapes very close to each other, looking like a disc, firing what looks to be a pink bolt of lightning down into the ocean. And we've done a review, and it could very possibly just be weather or pixelation or the mountains behind. But it's anomaly, and I thought it was interesting, and so I wanted to bring it to the public's attention.
I think that's great. I really do think that's
wonderful.
What did you think? Good catch on that one.
Do you have an opinion?
Yeah, I thought it was lightning.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I thought it was lightning.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, that's a good enough answer for me. But in the real news, Elon Musk's SpaceX continues to detect something massive on its missions. And you kind of touched on this tonight with Chris. And I'll tell you what, space fans closely observe the film of rocket launch events. And it turns out that several of these trips on board SpaceX-owned spacecraft have encountered mysterious objects that many believe indicate the presence of extraterrestrials. So Musk's SpaceX cameras keep detecting something unbelievably huge during their missions. And in a recent G20 summit, offered a vision into the future that includes aliens, deep tunnels, and rocket tourism. And he quotes here, maybe we will find alien civilizations or discover civilizations that existed millions of years ago. And during one of Starlink's satellite launches, people observing the tremendous achievement noticed something particular in the background. To the majority of those who observed the object, it seemed like a massive cigar. Apparently, it was flying alongside the rocket. This is not the first time that the numerous SpaceX cameras discovered a possible unidentified flying object. Almost every time the corporation launches a rocket into space, strange and out-of-place objects are spotted in the footage. And you kind of brought this up earlier with your interview with Christopher Sharp. Boy, would I love to hear your opinion, as now we're starting to shine a little bit of light onto this. Maybe we'll get a little truth since this isn't NASA.
My friend, we have been saying this for months here as we've been picking on NASA, trying to get people to understand how they're pulling the wool over our eyes when it comes to UFOs. Okay? Look, every space launch since Gemini in the 1960s has literally been followed by UFOs. And the fact that Elon Musk is now coming out and saying that his rockets are being followed, we shouldn't be surprised by this. We should not be surprised by this at all, because it's exactly what's happened to every other launch that we know of with NASA. Now, we can't tell you if it's happened with the Chinese. We can't tell you if it's happened with the Japanese, the Indian Space Agency, the Russian Space Agency. We can't tell you that. But what we can tell you is within North America, too many astronauts and too many people have come out saying that there have been something anomalous following that rocket into the sky. Whether it's in Earth's atmosphere or after it leaves the blue sky and goes into the dark, wherever it is, we've seen it, we've heard about it. SR-71 pilots have talked about it. We've heard the X-15 pilots talk about it. U-2 pilots talk about it. And everyone from there. Why we're surprised about this, I have no idea, my friend. I have no idea. Are you shocked?
No, I'm absolutely not shocked. I mean, I just assume that it's always taking place, but a lot of it isn't noticed by our really busy astronauts. But for example, local time on the April 23rd of 2021, a Falcon 9 rocket carrying a Crew Dragon spacecraft Endeavour successfully launched from the launch complex at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And the launch went off without a hitch, but along their way to the International Space Station, the crew of 4 was given some cause for concern when they were informed of the possibility of a collision with an unknown object. And so the SpaceX team was informed of the possibility of conjunction by USS Space Command, and the object was being tracked and was classified as unknown. And according to Humphreys, there was no time to conduct an avoidance maneuver in order to move out of the way of the item before it arrived. And in the event of a collision, SpaceX recommended that the astronauts put on their pressurized suits as a precaution. And so the possibility of the conjunction came so close to the closest approach time that there wasn't time to compute and execute a debris avoidance maneuver with confidence. So the SpaceX team elected to have the crew don their pressure suits out of abundance of caution, and noted by one of the astronauts that the object came within 45 kilometers of the spacecraft during its closest approach. And this distance is relatively little in comparison to the entirety of space, yet it's a massively close call and cause for alarm for people that are rocketing off towards the ISS. Dave, that sounds like a close call and maybe some cause for concern. So what does this element kind of draw into your purview as perhaps a cautionary tale?
I don't see any cause for concern. I really don't see any cause for concern. We've never had a cause for concern. What we're seeing here is a continued curiosity by something out there in the sky that has a very vast interest in what we are putting up there. It's like they're coming to say, hey, boys and girls, welcome to our toy box here. Would you like to come play with us? That's what I see happening. Okay, through Gemini, through Mercury, through Apollo, through the shuttle programs, and now into SpaceX, we have not had one collision. We have not had one scary moment. Now, scary moment, let me explain that for a second. Scary moment, what I mean is potential accident. Okay? Now, the pilots or the astronauts on board may be scared because they don't know what they're looking at. That's humanity. But in terms of an actual space accident where a craft blows up due to a UFO, we have not had that happen.
Right. I think the interesting happens perhaps in the aftermath with the media, when a few days later, the New York Post reported that a spokesman for the NASA Johnson Space Center said that the warning of a possible collision was in fact based on a false report. And upon further analysis, Space Control determined the potential conjunction between the Crew 2 capsule and the object was a false report. There was never a collision there, and there was never any danger to the crew of the Dragon, and the astronauts' safety continued on their mission. And so the NASA spokesperson, Kelly Humphreys, reported directly to the Post. And so it sounds like even if there was some sort of possible collision there, they were very rapidly happy to cover up any sign of danger or reality of UFO or anything when it came to the questions for the New York Post. Pretty frustrating for someone like you, and perhaps Christopher Sharp as well, who likes to report the truth.
Well, I mean, we're sitting there looking at this, and this is nothing new. We have to remember this is nothing new. This has continued to happen, and we shouldn't be shocked by this. I'm glad Elon Musk, love him or hate him, is finally talking about it. Okay? I think, for so long, we heard Elon Musk saying, I know nothing about this whole alien thing. I haven't been read into anything. I don't know. Well, this tells me that he does know. This tells me he has been read in. And this tells me where he says multiple rockets have been followed, that whatever is watching us from just beyond our eyelids is out there watching us move into space. And the curiosity that they have is going to be very interesting to see when we go back to the moon, when we either reposition the International Space Station to fly around the moon or build onto it to make it a superstructure. Because, I mean, let's face it, the space station is about the size of a football field, but still relatively tiny for humans to get any work done or to have any room to move or anything like that. So I'm curious to see what they're going to be doing next. And you know what? Just like us, we're curious beings as well, people. Now, let's preface, not all aliens are good. Okay? There's going to be some bad apples out there. But for the most part, I really do think the sightings are a result of curiosity, and we shouldn't be surprised by them, and nor should we be upset by them. They have not shown any threat. Therefore, the threat narrative does not come into play. All right? These aren't Chinese drones, going a couple miles above Earth. That's not what we're talking about here. All right? We're talking about some serious stuff here that needs to be discussed, Tim. And it's good that Elon Musk is finally owning up to it.
Absolutely. Are you aware of Ben Hansen's release on the new Firefly videos that have been released from Wisconsin? Is this something that's kind of came into your purview yet? Because it's very much along the same lines of...
I have not seen it. Okay. I have not seen the video. the videos of Ben Hansen yet.
Okay.
I have been watching in a private conversation in a group that I'm in with Ben Hansen. I have been watching what he's saying, but I haven't gone into that yet.
Hot stuff. Hot stuff.
Tim Senor and the UFO report continues when we return. And when we come back, the Pentagon's UFO office reveals investigating several hundred new reports. Let's find out about this on Spaced Out Radio's UFO report next. Look at Christine. Just being absolutely rude here.
Huh.
I had to take a Tums in honor of Dave and the taco I ate at 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
These people are cruel, Tim. These people are cruel.
That sounds like an empathy taco.
No, that sounds like I'm going to eat a taco here, and then I'm going to rub it in. That big bad Dave, I had to take a Tums because I started getting heartburn from this taco that Dave would have enjoyed.
It sounds like she took one for the team there.
I don't think she did. I don't think she did. I don't think she even thought of us. She didn't think about us.
Did you hear this,
at all.
Christine? You need to put something else in the chat. Don't let him just let that one go. No way.
Hey, I don't know, man. I don't know. I try and live a peaceful life here. I try and live a good life, wholesome life.
You're not kidding anyone. In your Frigidaire, your homemade Frigidaire office.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He chose that location, you guys. Could have picked anywhere on the planet. He thought, I want to live in a freezer 5 months out of the year.
No, it's only really cold, like a couple weeks.
That's nuts.
Dude, at least I don't live in a rainforest anymore. Okay?
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
all
no
right.
one wants to live in...
Where 300 days
tropics.
of the year, it's piss and rain.
Yeah, no, yeah, Washington is rough. I mean, where I live in Oregon, it's pretty nice. It doesn't get too cold. It doesn't rain too much. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Hey, that's all I'm saying, man.
Of course, you know this is Chris's story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I'm definitely going to give him credit.
Just want a taco now.
Can you believe how cool it is that Rex got immortalized into the catacombs of SOR archives? I mean, by the legendary Dirty Filth. He's in there now. He's got his picture in there. Beauty. Eh?
Beauty. About
Shout
time.
Out Dirty Filth. Yeah, shout out Dirty.
You did you dirty, man.
He's so dirty.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Tim.
Yeah, buddy.
I know you're looking forward to the Vegas party.
I am indeed, sir. It's coming quick.
May 19th through 21st, 2023. I mean, what are you looking for? This is your first one.
Yeah, it won't be my first time going to Vegas with you, though, and I can vouch for how much fun you are there. So there's that. You are absolutely so much fun. It's great. And all those jokes that you guys have and that you can't say, just get them all ready. He loves jokes, especially when they're like, the ones that cut really close. He loves those. Make them personal. But yeah, no, I am looking forward to it very much. The number one thing that I'm looking forward to is winning money right in front of you, hopefully, because I know how much you hate that, love that.
No, I was not angry. Why do you think I was angry with you? I was excited.
No, anyway,
just the fact that I had went to bed like 2 seconds before.
I think that was the thing. You were in my, when you weren't there, I did well. I'm not sure what that means. I didn't rub your foot or anything before you left.
No, you rubbed my belly though.
I did. Maybe there was some belly rubbing. Maybe that was it. Your opu, as they call it in Hawaii.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
I hear you.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And we're trying to get sweets for all the people that want sweets so we can party in style.
Mm-hmm. I know Tim is going to have a suite.
It's going to be sweet no matter what. Wherever I am, it's sweet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I know. I know. Yes, Joe, Vegas will have belly rubbing in it.
Or back rubbing. If you're Dave, he gets back rubs right at the bar.
Right at the bar.
As
Absolutely.
He sips, back rub. Never seen it before. It's a thing, obviously.
We got 10 seconds. Thank you to our super chatters tonight. Very much appreciate the love. Here we go with the second or the final half hour here. Rounded third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Let's continue on with the UFO report. Our main man, Tim Senor, is here tonight. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
No problem. All right, let's head back into the UFO world because that's what we do. Several hundred new reports of unidentified flying objects from service members last year. What do you think about that?
Well, fresh hot off the presses from the Daily Mail from our good friend Christopher Sharp and his co-patriot Josh Boswell. I've got a great report here. So Pentagon's UFO office reveals that it's investigating several hundred new reports of unidentified flying objects, and I love that it's UFO here, from service members in the last year. But it is yet to find evidence of alien life. So the Department of Defense has analyzed hundreds of UFO reports from its service members in this last year, and some objects flying in ways they don't yet understand, and some in space and underwater, officials have revealed. So the head of the government's UFO office, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, and Undersecretary of Defense Ronald Moultrie made the revelations in a Pentagon briefing to reporters on Friday. And there are things that appear to demonstrate interesting flight dynamics that we aren't fully investigating and researching right now, Kirkpatrick, the head of All Domain Anomalous Resolution Office, or ARROW, told the Daily Mail. And so Moultrie revealed that they had received reports from intelligence and military officers and other agencies of UFOs that not only are in the air, but also underwater and even in space, and emphasized the DoD's cooperation with NASA in trying to identify these UFOs. And so in a quote, we've been working with the Department of Energy, the Federal Aviation Administration, NASA, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, along with others, to share information and tap into resources. However, when asked directly by the Daily Mail about specific cases in space, he said it was classified. And so our ability to resolve things in space domain and what we have in space domain is something that are still under sensitive sources, methods, and means. And so in a quote, they would prefer not to respond on that question in this. And the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security said in this quote. And so the reports of UFO keep flooding into the UFO office, and the Director of National Intelligence released a report in June of 2021 that documented all 144 UFO incidents, and these were reported by military, government and intelligence officials. And so now, May of 2022, at the public congressional hearing of UFOs that report 400 reports had been received, the briefing on Friday, Kirkpatrick said that his office had analyzed several hundred more since then, including some reports about incidents that predate even 2021, but had only recently been filed. And so this is a really good report that goes into a little more detail. But knowing that you've had this interview earlier tonight, I would like to kind of maybe touch on some of the things that I know are perhaps revealed exactly on this topic. Dave, what's lingering for you after knowing what we know after this great interview that we had with Christopher earlier tonight?
Well, it's funny. I actually talked about this exact story on CKNW in Vancouver with host Bruce Claggett, who's been on this show before talking about a journalism side of UFOs. And we were talking about this report. And the way I look at it, whole lot of nothing. Look, they can throw out any statistic that they want. Hundreds of new sightings, hundreds of new reports, hundreds of this, hundreds of that. You know what? I sprinkle hundreds of specks of pepper on my Subway sandwich when I go to Subway for lunch because I can. Doesn't mean anything, okay? Until they start getting to the heart of the matter of this subject, it all means nothing if they aren't talking publicly. You can talk until you're blue in the face behind the scenes. What are you covering up? And that's what Christopher Sharp said. Look, yes, they are talking. Yes, they are giving us these little tidbits of information, but it's not helping the overall cause. It's not helping when you say none of these seem foreign or alien and we start bringing in Chinese drones again. That's just a deflection to get back on the course of there is no story here. As I said to Bruce earlier today, it's like going into a Simpsons episode with Chief Ralph Wiggum and, with Chief Wiggum there and him saying, no, keep moving on. There's nothing to see here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah. And the fact that they're talking that they have reviewed hundreds of cases means absolutely nothing because they haven't told us of that number, what number is mundane to them and what isn't. So again, they're just highlighting something very vague. You're absolutely right. And so...
But let's add this for a second. Where are the reports coming from? Are they strictly Navy? Are they Army? Are they Marines? Has the Air Force given in anything? Are they Coast Guard? Are they Space Force? Are they private citizens who are flying their Cessna 182s over the mountains by Mount Rainier?
Right.
What are the reports? And if those reports are out there by the hundreds, why can't we see them? We have a ton of MUFON reports. We're allowed to see those. We have other reports from the government that have been declassified that we're allowed to see. We got 3 videos.
That's right. And Christopher clearly defined that chain of command that those videos have to go through. They would be reported to Arrow, and then they have to get through both Lloyd Austin and Avril Haines before they get to the congressional committees. And I found that that is a very simple but needs to be clarified chain of events that needs to take place with each video or piece of documentation. And then obviously you see that both Austin and Haines are, the what you would call the faucet in this case of information. And only so much is potentially going to get to that congressional committee. And I know this wasn't asked directly, but I am a little suspicious of that faucet. And that means because it should be directly from Arrow to congressional committee. I wish that there wasn't Lloyd Austin and Avril Haines there to potentially dissuade the topic before it gets directly to the congressional committee and then obviously to the public.
Well, I mean, look, doesn't that seem like a lot of useless voices that it needs to go through?
Yeah.
It's like trying to withdraw your money from a bank and then having to go through the bank manager every time in order to withdraw it.
And again, where's the public oversight? At what point is there even a public representative there? anyone from, this community that is read in and has the clearance, I feel would be great, and it's necessary. And so I feel that is, missing, and it's been missing from the very beginning, back when they were looking and considering this even as legislation back in 2021, when we had our public hearings. That was our chance to say that we need a public oversight committee here and now, inserted in this, right in here, somewhere amongst this information gathering, because it's going to get lost before it hits the public, and that's unfortunate. But it may get lost before it even hits the congressional committees, and that would be outrageous.
Very true. Tim, it's going to continue to be an uphill battle here, and people like our good friend Christopher Sharp, and others who are reporting on this subject. This is not a fun job on the UFO beat. Okay. It is. And you could see when I asked him the question earlier tonight about, where the 50-50 split, 50% want the deal that's out. The other 50 are like, nope, this is something religious, something demonic. We don't want it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want anything to do with it. We need to put this back under the rug. And Christopher admitted that is what is going on. That is the danger of covering this topic right now. Right?
Yeah. And it's also the reason that he can't get a straight answer on where's our report. We were owed a report by the ODNI, and it is just blatantly gone. He was told November by his best source. I mean, if he doesn't know and his source doesn't know, something's broken. Or like he said, they've been so busy considering rewriting because of whistleblowers that have been happening behind the scenes, in which case that would be a good thing. But again, we don't know. We haven't been updated. So it just leaves us to sit here and ponder.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do. This is why, we've got hundreds of reports lately. Great. Who cares? Who cares?
Details.
Right? We need details. I mean, guess what, Tim? 184 times last year, we had blue sky.
Yeah. It's about the same statement.
Yeah.
Might as well be the same statement.
And 360 days last year, I saw trees.
Exactly.
But that as stupid as that sounds, that's what we're dealing with here. That's what we're dealing with. Okay. Where were those reports? Were they back at Catalina Island? Were they Tic Tacs? Were they black triangles? Were they these pyramids people are talking about? Were they the cigar shapes? How close did they get? Did it happen over major cities? Did it happen over water or the desert? Where is this going on? Where is the most of them going on? Are they happening underwater?
I mean, it does seem like in this sit down that they had with the media that some information was transposed, because further into this report, Moultrie also addressed claims of UAP demonstrating transmedium technology, meaning phenomena can travel seamlessly through space, air, and water. And in a quote, he said that we have not, to the best of our knowledge, had any credible reporting that we've been able to analyze of transmedium activity and transmedium objects, which is disturbing because we as the public know that it exists. We're still going through the data, he says. And although I would say that it's early on in the process, so I don't want to be definitive in saying that there's nothing there to see. But I would say that we have not seen since May, the hearing, any incidents that there have been any transmedium activities with UAP. And so Kirkpatrick also stated that the reported cases of UAP had increased to several hundred since the ODNI's UAP report released in 2021. How do you feel about that statement?
Great.
When we know it exists.
Great. Do your job and tell us what's happening. Don't give us a report on it. Reports are useless. Reports are like excuses. They're like a-holes. Everybody's got one. Where did it happen? Where are they happening? Are they happening more in winter? More in summer?
It's an incredibly frustrating quote.
Give us the details. Okay? You know, I used to have this buddy of mine growing up. All right? Used to have this buddy where we always called him Secret Agent Man. Why? Because you'd call him up and say, hey, bud, we're heading to the bar this weekend. Why don't you come out for a beer with us? Yeah, I can't, man. Why? Well, I got some stuff I need to take care of. Well, what kind of stuff? I don't know. I just got some things I need to do. Okay, no problem. Call them up the next weekend. Hey, bud, we're going for a beer this weekend, or we're going to watch the hockey game. Come and eat some nachos with us. Oh, dude, I'd love to, man, but I got some things I need to take care of. I got some stuff I need to do. Same garbage.
Yeah.
You know?
Get involved.
It really is. Give us some details.
Yeah.
You telling me you can't tell us if it happened on the West Coast or the East Coast or the central part of the U.S.? You can't tell us that? Right. You can't tell us whether it was daytime or nighttime, whether it was a military report? Guess what? You got 6 agencies. They all fall under the word military. All you have to do is say one military agency had this happen. We don't need to know if it's Air Force, Army, Navy, Space Force, Coast Guard, Marines.
Right. You got to remember, you and I don't think like these guys. You and I watch a video and we interpret it and we think something and then we express, what we think it might be. These guys, when they see something, they process it and it just goes out. Like it's just nothing to them. They've already boxed it as something. They have a preconceived notion that aliens don't exist. So this must be either A, a foreign military, B, ours, some sort of secret, something they don't even know about, or it's angels or demons, right? Potentially to some people. So you have to be able to consider that, in their heads, that's what they're interpreting this as. And so they don't even have aliens on their list, which is unfortunate because who knows what it is. It could have been A, B, C, or D, or none of the above for all we know. So very interesting to see their stand here.
Well, who knows? I mean, no matter what, we're going to be disappointed. By the way, temperature update, minus 37 Celsius outside. Thank you, little Marky Spender, for that. Minus 37 Celsius. So that's about minus 36 Fahrenheit right now.
That's when the elk and bear are knocking on your door to come in because they're freezing. So like, can we just warm up, please?
That's exactly
for a second, you're like, come on in.
Yeah, you just let them in. If you're cold, they're cold. Let them in.
Just give them a break. Right? That's right.
Exactly. Final topic for tonight. We only got a couple minutes.
All right.
Astronauts, historians, scientists, and officials convene to discuss stigmas surrounding UFOs.
Great new report coming in from the debrief. That's right. Several experts from various areas of government and scientists spoke openly about what they view as the reality of UAP phenomenon at a one-day conference earlier this year, which focused on recent advances in UFO research. And so the International Symposium on UAP Research, a virtual event organized by the company Virtual Project Media, was held on October 16th of 2022. The UAP phenomenon is real, it has been proven, and it's a reality, says Jean-François Clairvoy, a decorated French-European Space Agency astronaut, NASA veteran, and engineer during the event. Asked by the host what he expected from the current research in the UAP field, Clairvoy noted that the field triggers a lot of interest because it raises ontological and philosophical questions about who we are as a species and whether humans are alone in the universe. And so there are cases of identified phenomenon that we know with supporting evidence that it did take place. And he continues to say in a quote that is not pure collective imagination from everyone. We have testimonies from pilots, people on the ground, radar, traces, films, and the events definitely did take place. Clairvoy continues and say that he blames the lack of resources dedicated to the field for the slow progress that's been made throughout the years, noting that the creation of the technical committee Sigma 2 within the French Aeronautic and Aerospace Association was an example going forward for other national associations which may undertake studies of the phenomenon. And so, as we see, there are reports offered forward by successful independent companies, and Clairvoy expresses in his opinion that the extraterrestrial hypothesis, remains the simplest hypothesis as far as possible underlying causes for UFO. And just added that just because it's the simplest doesn't mean that it's the actual explanation, but his feeling is that it's probably not the one, but he says that he's totally open to the fact that it might be. And so ending the event and adding that UAP may represent something else that we're not able to explain and for which our imagination is not able to come up with any other ideas. Included in this group was our Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb, who was interviewed during the event, and he emphasized how we have yet to learn about the universe, and citing that the Director of National Intelligence preliminary assessment on UAP is an incredible turning point, and seeing this as a real and true thing. Dave, over to you.
I think you said it best there. A bunch of voices who have no understanding of how the phenomena works, getting together to talk about how they are the best at everything. Yes. No, I'm teasing there. Oh, I hope they accomplished a lot. I really do. But I'll tell you, as an experiencer and as someone who lives this topic every day, I'm getting tired of people trying to tell us what's going on when they have no examples of what is going on.
I'm going to briefly just give you my 2 cents why I think that things like this are important. The more papers that are written on this topic as a serious topic,
I'll give you that one,
the better. And so
True.
It needs to be coming from France, needs to be coming from Canada, needs to be coming from the United States, and it needs to be backed by the spotlighted individuals like Avi Loeb.
You got the final word on that tonight, my friend. You got the final word tonight, little Timmy Senior. Thank you so much. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music. Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGF, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. I'm becoming too fickle. I am becoming way too fickle. Honestly. I really am. I don't think that's healthy. I really don't. Close those windows there. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, I forgot to download that episode. Son of a gun. Hold on. Hold on. Just download. Hold on. Thank you to Steppenwolf and Susie for the super chat. Susie, the hat trick. Steppenwolf jumping in saying, hey, I want to get in this game here. Rock and roll, everyone. Rock and roll. Very much appreciate the love, everyone. Very much appreciate the love. It's friggin' awesome. Beauty. Riley Ferrante, welcome. My vehicle hasn't been out a 4-wheel drive in a couple weeks. Hi, Nicole Sackich. I'm going to wave at you. Beard Beady. Oh, Susie, thank you. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. That's why I'm growing my beard out. My daytime boss said to me today, he's like, you look different today. I'm like, well, boss, I have lost weight. He's like, no, you look different. I'm like, yeah, boss, I've lost weight. I don't think that's it, man. I don't think that's it. I'm like, well, I've lost weight. And he's like, well, I don't think that's it. It's something different. And I'm like, okay. And it ended up because my beard had been trimmed. Or he likes it when I'm more of a stubbly type look rather than a filled in type look. Where's the end here? Is that the end? No, that ain't the end. I cut the end off. I totally did. Son of a gun. Like trying to find the end and there is no end. Undo. Let's go like that. Copy. Paste. That should do it. JSCO, how you doing? Thurston Howell the Third. How's Lovey? For the record, gentlemen, Nicole Sackich hates beards. She hates them. She only plays along because she's forced. Yeah, Chris Sharp had the puffy hair going tonight. It was awesome. How awesome was it that his kid was up and pumped right up? I thought that was awesome too. I'm gonna turn this heater back on. Good night, Jenny. Hey, there's a birthday girl. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, luscious Jules. Happy birthday to you. And many more. We love you, Jules. Thank you for the love. Outside of Rick Astley in the 80s, was there any more annoying song than Red Red Wine by UB40? And it seemed like every 2 years they were re-releasing the song because they were a one-hit wonder and that's all they could ever release. Or anything by Tracy Chapman. That was horrible stuff. Love V Love. You show up in Vegas, we'll sing. We'll sing. Well, getting Rick rolled today is awesomeness. But back in the day, Rick Astley, there wasn't a single person there who didn't want to hit him. Okay, let's be frank here for a second. Milli Vanilli were annoying. Hey, I'm just glad Jules got to hear that. But seriously, UB40's red wine, annoying as anything. I'll tell you an 80s band that I thought was way ahead of their time, Pet Shop Boys. Those guys were awesome. I liked them. Blackbird Immaculate, how you doing? Forgot what I was doing there for a second. Hi, Lunar Tina. Hi, lovely Lavira. Yeah, Devo was pretty terrible too. We can't deny that. How many years did they milk those flower pots on their head? Terrible. Gemma Jackson. Hello. Excuse me. Gemma Jackson. Hello. Tiffany, I watched her perform recently. Oh my God, she's terrible now. Terrible. Okay, Chris. Teen, message me on Facebook, love. Greatest song ever. Paradise City. Nicole, man the chat room if you want. Be right back. All right. All right. If you are coming to Vegas, I want you to email us at info@spacedoutradio.com and let us know that you're in. And let us know if you're interested in just a regular ticket or a VIP ticket. and we can start getting some numbers put together. It's kind of cool. It is kind of cool. We're almost there, people. Almost there. It is almost time for us to hang out and pate again. Merle's on the show tomorrow night, by the way. Big Bad Merle. Hey, we actually have an elephant at Rosie's Pan. Now let's see if that hippo's there. There we be. We'll know pretty quick here if that hippo's around. Uh-oh, we got a little bit of bubbling right here. I don't think the hippo's around. I really don't. I know. I'll put that info at spacedoutradio.com. Start to email us if you're coming to Vegas. I don't think the hippo's there. I really don't. I usually had enough water. So screw this, I'm out. All right, let's see what else we got here. And Coral, what do we got? There's the lodge. But bear with me 2 seconds here. Oh, we got nothing here. Nothing. Oh, let's go to Oliphant's River. How high is the river today? Look how brutally high that is. It's terrible. We're never going to see anything like that. Oh, what else we got going on here? I don't want the Deer Pantry or Harbour Village or Birds from the South or... Let's go to Juma. What do we got here? Nothing. Looks like a storm is rolling in. All right. Got some ostriches there. The youngins are starting to grow up a little bit. Too far away. Let's try THAL. They got the zooming thing going on. Nothing. Come on, give us something good. Give us... No, that's a different one. Let's try something different here. Come on, people. Let's go back to Rosie's Pan, see what's happening there. Oh, do we have some movement here? Not enough. Looks like we got a storm rolling in. Oh, look at all the oryx. There we go. Dave, what are your top 3 UFO cases? Roswell, Shag Harbour, and the Stefan Mikulik case, because of the evidence that nobody goes through. My feet are getting warm. I like the oryx. They're just a gorgeous animal. They really are. Stefan Mikulik, that's the Falcon Lake incident. Yeah, we got to try and get Michael Schratt back on the show. Michael Schratt, by the way, will be in Vegas with us. All right, tomorrow night on the show, we're getting into true crime tomorrow night with authors Frankie Falzone and Duffy Jennings. These are guys who looked into the Night Stalker cases, looked into the Zodiac, Zebra, and Juan Corona serial murderers. We're going to get into all of those tomorrow night on the show. A big thank you tonight to Tim, Deb, Susie times 4, NorCal, Thomas times 2, Mennonite A, Bread Panda times 2, Tammy, Shelley, can't read my own writing, Lily Pond, Debster again, and Steppenwolf for the amazing super chats. Much love to everybody. Remember, if you are planning on coming to the Vegas event, May 19th through 21st, hit us up at info@spacedoutradio.com. Let us know that you're coming. And if you want regular tickets or VIP tickets, regular tickets are $60 for the weekend. VIPs are $100. It's a cheap weekend, man. We'd love to have you all there. And we want to be able to shake hands and say hello to absolutely everyone. Until then, everyone, you guys have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.